only show 2 sessions. 1 week, one week only shows like 1 week. If I wanted a module to be,
that's I think like
3 months for some reason,
the most important part.
it'll do that. So and also get another
hard.
So that works, and I can do this in this because this and this is the exact same component. So it's not pretty, but it works.
Those are so.
Yeah, this is doing.
No, it's such a pleasure to see
And
this structure.
this one, this is pretty cool. This is a component.
So that's why
This
because
it's React.
I know that's yours.
Sometimes
no,
you need
because
to
this,
put your remote in that way.
this is join, inner join, like the database inner join. So this is like a module, and this is the class module. So this is like the inner module, like inner
You could,
join. That's why
did you
I-
you could, it's pretty cool. You can
Will it be this one?
It's included in material.
Oh.
It's a little for some.
Oh yeah, I depends.
I'm not sure it responds at all.
I didn't think because it was very low
Response is TV, but not AV.
Put that there.
See if it also detects it.
So it's it can add it.
Yeah,
but
can I change the input?
It doesn't add.
Okay.
any
Oh,
line.
nice.
No, it goes to database. Like,
Yeah, great.
so this is here, like every time I make it first, it goes.
Cool. So I set up a call. So yeah, let's just do the round and see what you've done since last time. So yeah, should we do it counterclockwise today, Margo?
Sorry.
You want to start?
Yeah, I mean, but I'm afraid there's not really, that much to show.
Okay.
I mean, I had like kind of a proper photo structure and authentication is working properly, but I'm just missing the refill. To be fair, like the group haven't been such a thing. Yeah, at one point I realized that it was not going to happen.
Okay.
What you can, you just start your presentation and just explain what you were struggling with and
Yeah, it would be nice to see. I mean, we don't need to see a finished product.
Okay, yeah, sure. I mean,
Anyway,
there are a couple of things actually that are.
definitely. I mean, maybe if it draws out into being like a long Q&A session, we have to continue on and do it after. But just like give us an idea what you've been doing and what you've been documenting.
Yeah, sure. Should I call?
And just join the call and remember to shut down your microphone and audio outputs.
Just remind you to clap again. What did you say?
Yeah.
I just asked him to present what kind of like struggles and what he's been dealing with during the week.
I'm sorry, my computer is sick as well.
It is that season.
Yeah.
Mute your microphone in Slack.
Because
Are you sure it's not yours?
No, you're right.
can you delete
But I didn't mute
Yeah,
mine.
yeah,
Oh,
there's a mic
it's
on.
unmuted again. Okay, sorry.
Okay, and what I'm supposed to do?
Share your screen. So from inside the call.
Hey, that's so. Okay, basically my biggest problem was that I was not able to do the migration with Next. Next. I was having just a problem when I was trying to do it, something with the SQL client and the permission thing. I Googled, like no one really had it. I tried a couple of solutions, didn't work, so that was quite a bumper. But anyway, guys, the structure in there, the backend, it's just amazing, super easy to understand, and actually, I mean, it helps a lot to to do it, actually like to inspire in that structure, and yeah, now I am understanding clearly what is going on. So thank you for that. That's been amazing. For the rest, basically, what I managed to do is, yes, I mean, well, no, those are not the colors. I mean, the screen is like,
There's different colors.
well, it's an authentication somehow working.
Yeah.
This is just, I repeat, it's not really working at all, but yeah, you will have some access to your profile as well. You can log out.
Okay, but at the moment none of this is driven by the database.
Oh yeah, but not to that database.
Oh, so you had to do your own?
Yeah, I have my own.
Okay. And you don't have like Connects or anything like that right now?
Nice. I didn't manage. I mean, I have installed it, but I didn't manage to make the migrations. I can show you.
Yeah. Can you show us the error right now, or is it tricky to get to that point?
No.
Okay.
Damn, can I move this?
Yeah, just move that around.
So I should go to.
You might clear the screen so that you get at least some more space.
Oh yeah, if you
Just type clear.
Yeah. No.
What?
Oh, what's going on?
Wait a minute, your information is a little bit.
I think there's a button there for it as well.
Control L, does that do anything?
No. Control clear is the command is fine, but it is
Yeah, I mean, with the screen sharing thing, it's not doing that on my computer.
Oh, it's the okay. It's the fault problem.
So, which were the commands that I needed to? So basically, it's this one over here. Client does not support authentication protocol request by server, considering creating a MySQL client. I tried a couple of different things. I mean, at the beginning, I was using the database from JODB that we were getting from Roku. Then I tried to create my own. I follow a couple of recommendations about like altering the users and.
Which version of MySQL are you running? Because I think I know this error.
It's 8.2 something.
Yeah. I think the problem is that in newer versions of SQL they don't default to password authentication.
Yeah.
So you have to change that.
But
I don't remember the exact solution, but we had like we struggled a bit with that in the last project as well, and I can try to find.
I was doing some queries like alter user that was not working. I mean.
I don't think that's it.
Okay.
But can't you even log in your MySQL from anywhere?
Yeah.
You can log in. Can you log in?
It's just the migration that doesn't work.
Yeah, just try to log in, and I'd like to see.
Because I had the same problem that my MySQL was not connecting to it, and I had to make I had to like reinstall MySQL to fix this problem.
Did you reinstall to a later version?
Yeah, like
I deleted.
Yeah, I deleted the MySQL that's in my computer, and then I reinstalled from terminal before I had the software, so that it has no open SSL or something like that with MySQL. Yeah, so it wasn't connecting it every time.
So it was the So I got it to work.
Yeah.
I mean, here I'm already connected.
Okay. So can I see your connection settings?
Yes.
How you authenticate with the database here?
That would be exactly.
I think under the database menu, and then there's like
manage connection or.
Yeah, I think maybe manage. I think that's like the connections you already have coded in. Username rules. Try going to the SSL part.
Yes.
No, advanced. Okay, so it looks like you're just able to logs straight in as a root. I would expect it not to be able to do password authentication. All right.
I mean, the weird part is that for what I checked, I mean, it was not like a super common error.
Yeah, I think it is, but I also was surprised how difficult it was to Google. And I think it's just because if you Google anything with MySQL, you have like a history of like 10-15 years of people Googling all kinds of stuff.
Right.
I think what might help is actually Googling like within the last month or last year,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
But anyhow, let's have a closer look at that after. And then I'm just kind of like, so if you run into stuff like this, and right now like we're getting like really close to the deadline, make sure to post about it on Slack and ask for help.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And we didn't see it, or
Yeah, that's where,
No, at least I saw that you replied, and as you didn't reply that, hey, that doesn't
Okay,
work.
so you thought
That's why I was
one-
thinking that it has done.
No, I mean, I had already, Googled
Yeah.
it, I
Yeah.
knew those answers, I just want to check if someone,
And there was
Yeah,
no
sure.
indication.
had the same
But if you're still struggling, don't be afraid to ask
Yeah.
twice, because it's a chat, so messages stay there. Like if you come in later, might not
It's
see
gone,
the
yeah.
messages. So it's always okay to post twice in a chat.
I mean, at the end of the day, I already had, the structure from the database, so I could just do it myself, but, well, I mean, it's just too much. I will not.
All right, cool.
Um,
But let's have a look at it after. I have a pretty good idea what we might try. So
the only things I can actually like, I'm kind of proud of the project itself is how I managed to use Redux, how to implement the theme from Material UI. That I think, and also how to manage the roots here, and how to do the authentication within the roots. I think that's pretty cool. That like checking in the app.js if the user is actually authenticated, and depending on that, you are gonna display the different routes. That way, if the user is not signing in, basically the only component that you're gonna receive is gonna be the signing component. It's pretty cool. And otherwise, you can manage. You can take care of all the other options when you're actually authenticated, and as well as the layout. I think that's okay. But yeah, I'm just missing the most important part that is.
I understand, but I can give you. It's not highly related to the work that we're doing, but I'm giving you a very important message
Yes.
that might help you in your future development career. The thing is that it's always happened. The thing that you're struggling with, that you are stuck with something that is super important, and you give your best effort, but that you will not succeed. So think like a situation that you are in your real job and you are in that situation.
Yes.
So don't be afraid. The main thing, as it is a team, leave this part, because if you fail to leave your responsibility, you'll be done. The thing that you think that, hey, I know what I need to do. I know I read all manuals, but it should work, but it doesn't work. But you need to leave it out. Do you understand what I mean? Like if you work in a team, then just say that, hey, it's not my job anymore. I would like to leave and I would like to proceed. Because I have seen this situation that you are struggling with at least for a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
What I was telling you again and again, leave it. Just do something else. Make you happy. You understand? It's a very common scenario for developers that they're struggling and they're in stuck. So in this situation, as I have understood that yes, your error message is valid. Yeah, there is no reason to get that error message. Everything is fine, but it happens. Every developer's life has almost similar kind of problem. So in that case, what I was expecting that, okay, let's do something else. Create some component, do some UI, try to do something else. Okay, if I am in stuck and every job has some certain what is it called, time limit. Like I will spend for this for say 20 hours, and if 20 hours is gone and I couldn't manage, leave it. Otherwise you will die. So that's the main thing for you people, and I'm guessing that, or I'm expecting that you'll shine in your future career. But remember that your life is the most important thing. Okay, it doesn't even cost anything. Okay, so make you happy. Otherwise, it will think like a situation where you are trying and trying, and you will be disappointed. And if you disappoint, then you lose the spirit. And if you lose your spirit, then everything will be down. Okay, but keep your good work.
But I have the impression you sort of did that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean,
I think you did work more on the UI, and I don't know when
Yeah.
you did everything, but it's really solid wise. I mean, like it's kind of the default state when you're a developer to be stuck with something at any point in time. So you just stop working with something else, and then maybe you can come back to that thing you're stuck with. Maybe someone else can pick it up and have a look at it. Yeah.
But never be disappointed. Be happy. Be happy, cool and calm. That's very important. Okay.
Yes, thanks for the advice.
Great.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to show us?
Not really. I kind of learned a little bit of the. I don't know if I guess everyone is using Material UI basically for now. Well, you're doing your own styles, right?
Yeah, styles.
But yeah,
That's the freedom.
I learned a little bit about how to have the default thing in Material UI. That's kind of cool. I mean, just changing a little bit. What are you saying? No, you don't like the Material UI. Yeah. It's kind of cool to have like a primary and secondary color just in one place and just changing one value and
You can add extra colors.
yeah, and that's pretty much the only thing I have to say from all this. Any questions?
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. Let's continue. You want to show us something?
Yeah. The next thing. Oh, I
Damn. Sorry.
I should have thought.
If you want primary and secondary color functionality, you could just use SAS.
Why would you show?
Yeah, I mean, why?
You don't need material.
No, I'm not. Nobody's saying that you need it.
I'm using both of them.
Oh, okay, that works well.
But like, if you need to use a model, let's say.
Okay, I see. If you want a theme, a specific material theme, then it's great.
No, I mean, you don't use Material UI at all.
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay,
Of
like
course it
if you need to make a model, are you gonna like install a library?
I have to open my
If you need to use a model at one point in your project,
I don't know.
a model, you know, like the
pop-up thing.
Oh.
Modal.
Yeah.
Oh, modal. Okay, I thought it was a model.
yeah.
Custom.
Well, I mean, would you like to install?
Well, I think it's a matter of test actually. It's a controversial part, and it's then kind of endless debate. What is right and what is wrong.
No, of course.
Yeah.
And it's per situation, right? If you just need to prototype something quick, then I would take a library 100% of the time. But if I need to make something specific, I probably do it myself. It depends on the situation.
That's the most important thing is that you can't do the same thing for every single project.
Depending on the requirements.
Never mind that. So just to make clear that I have only problem.
Yeah, only problems. Okay, cool. So we're here to help you solve those problems.
Yeah, basically like we kind of copied from Duhai's repo to ours project.
Yeah.
So that was done successfully.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so then like afterwards I didn't change any UI or anything. I didn't work on UI, so I was just basically like, okay, this is like nothing was working until Thursday, so I was just fixing it. Okay, I'm really sorry to go out of the things that you said before, like we have to leave the problems and move ahead, but yeah, it seems like I couldn't.
Yeah, but I mean, if everything is not working, you have to fix the problems.
So yeah, and then the one that I was able to make is like when I click this add button, then like, add module, then I'm able to add module, and I can make a query. Like for example, like I have like HTML, and then there's like description about like HTML codes and the length, like for example 2 months and some GitHub.
Okay.
So and there's like a month and like
Start and end.
yeah. So there's like the starting date and then the ending date is there. And and then I can make the query, but because the table is joined, so I could not I could log into my terminal, but it just there's a little bit of problem with the UI, so I have to take the I couldn't fix with getting a class ID when I create the add module. So yeah, that was basically the problem. It says like new module is added successfully, but like I can't.
Can I see
Yeah.
the server where you do the query?
But what you have problem is associating the new module that you're creating
Is
with the class that
Yeah.
it's
storing
supposed
the
to belong to.
database?
What?
The model is storing the database.
Yeah.
But didn't appear at
On the UI, the client side.
I think I know the problem.
If you refresh the page,
No, I did it yesterday, like trying to do it, but it always maybe there's some routing things, or maybe I don't know.
maybe it's
Yeah, this is because it has to add like, for example, class 12. When I add a module, then it has to add.
But I think Joe is on the right path. I think we need to see the server where you're making the query.
Yeah. What is it? I think this is the one. This is the join table.
Add a new module to class.
Yeah.
But you're not sending anything back.
What?
Oh, never mind.
And what's this module? Insert into the modules. This is because I think when I did the migration, all the query, that's all copied from the users. So I have to in order to make the new module, so then I have to create a new function in order to make it. So this is basically I was just exploring the whole.
But can I see the create new module function again?
Do you have that on GitHub?
No, I haven't pushed it. I'm just doing it here.
Well, first of all, what I can see, you don't even get any error messages. You press the add module button, but something happened and you don't know even what is happening. Is that the case? You understand what I mean?
No, not exactly. I think because when I add it, I can successfully there's a message like a success new module added successfully.
Yeah. I think you're creating new modules, but I don't associating it with the class. You need to pass in the foreign key so they can be linked, and I didn't see that happen in the function where you're creating a new module. That's why I want to see it again, because I didn't get to read it properly.
Okay.
adding them to the database is not enough.
Yeah.
But let's take
We need to treat them.
Okay. So maybe that's.
But that's why you're suggesting refreshing the page, because that would instantiate everything. But that doesn't seem to work either. So I think.
So this is the get all modules with class.
But I'm not so interested in that one. I'm more interested in
The
the
save-
creating modules.
Yeah, the save modules or whatever you wrote, like the SQL query that you wrote for saving a module.
Oh my God,
You
that's
showed it to us
fun.
earlier on.
So this is the module.
Get all, create a new user. Then I think it's after create a new user. Further down. Delete a user.
A new module added successfully.
Yeah,
And
this
which-
is the one like it's giving me here like yeah it says like interlinked modules and then yeah.
Okay, so you,
Well, first of all, if you get any error, then you say it's successful or whatever. No.
Uh,
Okay.
but why do you have the code to insert modules within the create new users function? No, it's called create a module. Oh, so it's just a comment that's wrong.
Yeah, the comment it was like just like when I was so when I did the migration, then this is all the code that I came with, but it's not like exactly for the modules and users. Like it's not being separated. It's just like a copy of users function.
Yeah, okay. But you have in data for module, you're setting the title and the description.
Yeah.
But I'm still thinking you need to have a class in here somehow, and then you need to set the ID of the class on the module so you can associate those two things, right?
Yeah.
And I don't see any references back to class. So can we see what you actually have in your database?
Yeah.
So in your modules table, describe modules. Yeah, so I want to see the actual data. Just select star from modules.
This is budget.
Yeah, so you don't even have like a
But it seems like
you don't have a foreign key in there referencing the class.
No, that's just a module, right? That's the one that you associate, not necessarily with the class. It's the class that has the modules associated with it. So those are the ones you use multiple times.
I mean, like a class.
That's a basic module.
That's not the one that should have the reference. The class is the one. That
Oh,
should
so
have
we
the
have
reference.
like a join table because it's a many.
Yeah, it's an inner join. That's the
okay.
problem. Yeah.
Okay, so then we need to see the modules classes table or something like that.
Yeah,
Something
exactly.
like that. I don't know what it's called exactly.
It's classes underscore modules.
Yeah, let's have a look at that one.
Yeah.
And the last one you created here, what ID was that?
What?
The last module you created, what was the ID for that one?
10.
Yeah.
This is the one that I created. I don't see here. It's a console log here, not like when I do console.
What should the console have?
No, I just I had the console log here somewhere so that I could see what data is being.
Okay, but I'd like to see in the database still. I'd like to see what your classes modules table look like.
This is the table and
Yeah, classes modules. Select star from classes modules. Okay, so you actually do seem to have some
I think I know the problem.
references set up, but we don't see ID 10 anywhere. So
The object which is posted to backend didn't contain the same structure.
yeah, so maybe this data is previous data from the seed. Did you have do you have it seed these things maybe?
Not like this.
Not like that? Okay.
maybe I have to pull again.
Because that's what I'm thinking. If there was a seed file that was populating these data, and then when you try to copy it into your project, something broke. So this is not populated after that because you can see that the ID 10 is not here, or
Yeah, and also the other problem is every time I make the changes like inside the file, my server crashes. And like I have to kill like specifically, and I don't know, is it a problem with the operating system or?
I don't know.
That should be pretty good for
Every time like there's this error like app crashed.
What? Why are you
So
on
it's
port
already
4000?
So it's telling you that port 4000 is already in use.
Yeah.
So maybe you have like multiple instances of the app being spun up, or maybe you have something else running on 4000.
No, it's this project that I'm running, and I check it every time, and then it doesn't.
Have you tried changing the port?
That's probably where I'd start, and otherwise we have a look. There's like a console command where you can ask it how many processes are running on a given port, and then you can see what is actually running on port 4000, because if it's telling you that something else is running on port 4000, probably something else is running on port 4000. So then it's a matter of figuring out what it is. Yeah, exactly that one there.
And then this is the one like proxy, like every time like I change.
Oh wait, did you change the what's it called? The package JSON and proxy as well?
No.
You probably need to do that.
I
Try to go to package JSON.
It's pretty far down.
Yeah, I think it's
This is the one I use, which probably is
Yeah, this is the local host.
4000.
all the way down.
Oh, it's there, right?
Oh yeah, right.
But there's a
This
test URL there that only says localhost. I think it's just for running tests, so I don't think it matters.
yeah, this is like.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe try to search through this file just for localhost and then see if there are any other instances that needs to be fixed. And I mean, like, you can fix the test URL in any case.
Like you mean to search for 4000?
No, it's just for localhost.
In this file or like?
Yeah, in this file, yeah.
Yes, she's right. There's only one person.
So just add 4000 to the test URL. Just I don't think it will fix it, but then at least you're testing on the right port.
Could also try to change the port to something
Yeah.
else. Just
I think I'll try that. But let's not dive deep into that right now. I think the priority is to try to figure out what's happening since your database calls are not working properly. And I think it's correct that there's probably somewhere where it's not the right parameters being passed in, and then you don't get the association with the class. And the part about the app crashing, I'll probably just start out changing the port. You can try that out, but that's lower priority, I think. Cool. Anything else?
I don't know, like so today is our last day, right? And when is the presentation and everything?
So the presentations are next week? Yeah.
What, next week? Dang, so what?
So it's supposed to be feature freeze from now on. I'm not sure that's realistic, but yeah.
So like, is it like I don't know, like should we talk about what we have been like, what did we do right and what did we do wrong and what we can do like maybe in the future?
But I mean, in any case, I mean, from today on, your focus should be on wrapping up your projects in a way so you can demo something. I mean, all of you have something at least, right? And it might not be like real code freeze, because I realize that's probably not realistic in many cases, but try to find out how can you make this project work well enough that you can present it. And it's fair that you don't have like an MVP of a product or anything like that right now. I mean, like everyone who's been in class knows that that's more due to the way that this project evolved than due to your skills. And I generally think that you demonstrated skills enough for like to pass the final project. At least that goes for everyone who's in here right
Did you
now.
give a pass mark for this? It's like, everyone
Well,
wins.
I mean, in a more realistic approach, even if we're not coming anymore to classes,
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would be able to do something more or less okay. Of course,
But anyhow, in the end of the day, like the passing of the final project is not really something that I do. It's actually a matter of what ends up on your GitHub profile. So passing this course is actually about getting an internship or a job, right?
no.
Yeah, some of you already have. So, but I mean, still, it's more about actually having a product on your GitHub profile. And for that reason, I also kind of expect you to, if you're presenting something at this stage on next Sunday, then I kind of expect you to put some hours into it after the graduation as well, and try to wrap it up.
Yeah.
And maybe not build the full iteration one. Then you have to figure out, okay, so where can I cut some corners? How can I make this work within reasonable time? And then get that one up on your GitHub profile, because it's always much better to have something small that works rather than having something big that's terribly broken. It's really nice for an employer if they go in on your profile and they see, oh, okay, so there's a project here and there's all the instructions for running it. Let's try it out. And then they clone it, and then they just run the command and things run. Right? That's awesome. They might see that, oh yeah, it would be really cool if they had added this there and this there and this there, but they don't really know how much effort you put into it. So, I mean, but if it's not going to run, they're just going to clone it and then run the command and like, oh, I didn't know, yeah, forget about it, right?
But
So-
I mean, guys, it never happened before that one class, took a longer time, like to present the final product. I actually don't feel comfortable at all, making a presentation about what I'm sure I'm gonna be able to have. That's the truth. I mean, I think also it's kind of unfair because I think I can do it better.
Well, it did happen quite a lot of times.
And
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, how I feel. I know that for the guys, probably they're gonna be able to achieve something, that it worth the presentation. But especially of that, imagine that the guys go first, they make a presentation, and I need to go afterwards. Okay, did you have your snacks already? I mean, it wouldn't be any joy. I can get really drunk and do it anyway. I wouldn't really care, but.
Yeah, I do understand what you mean. And I don't think what you have on your computer right now is representative of what you can. So I understand why that's super frustrating. On the other hand, I mean, yes, we did extend the deadlines many times, but it's also something that we really want to get away from, because that means that we keep extending the program. And we have to always plan with a ton of slack in terms of when we start new classes and stuff like that.
What I would like to do is not, I mean, to finish it, and maybe, since I'm guessing I'm not going to be the only one in this position, maybe talk afterwards with the guy, we were missing, the presentation, and if it can happen.
But I mean, in any case, we're not presenting the project. I'm going to tell them that you did not have as much time to actually do the coding as usual because of the planning of the project. But on the other hand, you did actually have a lot of time because you had a Christmas holiday. But I know that we didn't manage to wrap it up properly, just get you started to do all that work. But that's also why it's a little bit difficult to justify extending it further.
Is it also possible that some of us don't present at all?
I mean, do you want to take this module again?
Because I don't really feel like that I achieve anything when I build on top of Zuhair's I actually I mean, I had only disease this the past week, not
Yeah.
even problem, just
Okay.
disease.
Okay.
And I also had like almost zero motivation to do anything because of one, a lot of like just weird crashes that is going on that I had to fix all the time. And second of all, like it's not even my baby.
Yeah, but
I understand that.
first of all, may I ask a question? Like,
You doing
have you learned not a single piece from the code that you have received? Didn't you learn anything?
Sorry?
Didn't you learn anything from that repo? Like the repo that you get?
I did learn a bit, but
What exactly you have learned?
dealing with problems.
What exactly you have learned? Just tell some word, some sentence. What exactly you have learned from that project, the repo that you get, or anything. You can say that I didn't learn anything. It's zero. You can also say that.
I just learned a little bit about Next.
Next, okay.
Yeah.
Number one. Anything else?
That's it.
That's it. Okay. Then you have some achievement. So I'm not
But
telling
that's
you
not
to.
the achievement.
I
Final product.
I understand. I
It's only
understand.
reading it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
and I think it's a really fair point, and it is something that I was kind of worried about, and that I also brought up like last time, whether you would feel comfortable using their project and whether they would feel comfortable with all of you using it. But on like the other hand, from a pragmatic point of view, it was like the only way that we could get the class going fast enough at that point, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I mean, like, I guess you could have gone home and like build everything yourself, and then you definitely feel ownership over everything, and you would learn every little detail. And I tried to bring this up a little bit last time, but it's definitely expected that we sit here now like having this discussion, because I would also feel that it kind of sucked to be like way in the end of the process, and then okay, so we tried this big chunk of code, and then realized, oh, I can't find like where it starts and where it ends, and like and just not being able to contribute very much. I mean, maybe we can try and take a talk with Christopher whether we can maybe extend it, but I don't have my hopes up too high, and I'm like, on the other hand, this situation is actually like really realistic. I mean, I had a lot of demos where I had to demo something where it's just like, this is not working. I didn't contribute very much to this. It's just like, but that's quite often how it turns out. Of course, it's kind of like, this is like the celebration of like being here for officially 6 months, and then that's extended, or you know. But anyhow, so I see that it's maybe not so much of a, what's it called, yeah, it's not the best conclusion of the program. Yeah. Okay, can we continue on with the presentations, and then we'll take a little more of a talk about this after?
Yeah, definitely. I think we should have this done.
So I imagine you don't have a lot to show, but I definitely want.
Yeah,
It's the same project.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but maybe you can contribute with like what you did, if you did anything besides getting sick.
I copy paste the project.
You copy paste the what?
The project.
Yeah. Okay. So you try to make it work. And right now, what are you doing? So, did you end up branching from their project, or did you end up like taking the changes into your branch?
I first of all spent quite some hours try to copy the code and then paste in to fill it in our project. Right, it didn't work. Just like everywhere problem.
Yeah.
So I think I spent like 4 to 5 hours to do that,
Yeah.
and I just gave up. I just said, okay, fuck it. Then I just branch out and then just copy the whole code, code base, and then just cover it up.
Yeah.
Basically replace our previous project.
Right.
And it was kind of still having some problem, but at least I got it work. And I just told her that we have a branch that we can try to look into and work on. But then she has other problems again.
Yeah, it couldn't like it didn't. I couldn't run the project in the computer.
Yeah. But that, I mentioned this as well last time. That was like kind of my worry, was that quite often if you take something big from someone else, or if you've taken a library into your project, it might actually take longer time to understand how it works and how to consume it than it takes to write it yourself. That's like pretty common. I don't know how the math would look for you if you had to build it yourself versus what you've been doing. It might not take longer, but the fact is it does take a long time to use other people's code as well as writing your own.
Yeah, but yeah, the situation that you are in now, like the idea was that you should have some kind of ownership in your code. Like you should achieve something, and you should come up with something that you can present. That this is the thing that I made. Well, first of all, but in a practical scenario, you never, well, most of the time actually, you should or you will work in a already developed project. So you are just joining in a team and just started from the project that they are now. So it's not very common that you hire a company and you started something from very scratch. So it's not the real scenario actually.
Yeah, that's
So
true. But
I let me finish actually. So that's why I was thinking that though the original goal not yet achieved, but at least from the mental point of view, that it is something pretty natural that you fork it from or you clone it from one repository and develop on top of that. So that's a very common scenario that you found in the company of Aeropath. So yeah, obviously you are not, you didn't achieve anything from your point of view. Like you don't have in your repo, you don't have any single line of code or something similar. But yeah, I understand your feelings. Yeah, and I totally agree with you that yeah, it would be nice that if we have something.
Okay, let's talk a little more about that after. So, yeah. So how about you guys? And remember to turn off the mic.
Maybe we should start a new call.
Yeah, you think I should start a new one? Or?
If you can't present it, man, it doesn't count.
Let's try a new one.
You're still Zoom.
Yeah, how is that possible?
I think that's why it didn't share us.
So somehow this call has ended. Did you exit the call as well? Because if I press this one, oh, it is. Oh, it is actually connecting there. Oh,
there we go.
Like my iPad, like it's taking time.
And you lost one arm.
all right.
It's being left and right, but you know the eyes.
Is this thing coming? Is it your cursor?
Did you change the data to here? Did you change
Yeah, a
the
small
data?
change.
Oh,
You know, we didn't fork it. We copy
Okay.
and paste it, okay?
okay. No, because I was looking at the database and trying to
I opened it
read yesterday,
to show
like
what
maybe
I.
sort of different database, I guess, like the old.
This is the old ARD for database. There is a relation between session and modular.
Mhm.
But when we start to implement the project, I figured that there's a problem here for linking session with modules. Modules are general abstract classes. So JavaScript is global one, it's abstract one. It should not be related directly to the session. Session should be linked with classes modules. For example, we are now doing the final project. This is a class module.
So that's
But-
an instance.
But the class project is a general one module. But we are now doing this unit, so it's here in classes modules. So I move this link from here to here.
Okay.
While I was reading more about Knex, I figured that it's wrong to go to the migrate file and modify it. We should create a new one, new migrate one.
Yeah, I
And
always
add
need to
the
create a new
modification.
file. Yeah.
So we keep all history of modification.
Yeah.
We can roll back to any, like GitHub, we can roll back to any comment, and here we can roll back to any one of them, and all of them will run sequentially. And if you run migrate again, you will get a new update for the database.
Well, just it's a very important message in your development plan in the future. That's the main idea of what is called creating Git and everything. Never update your old SQL files. Always create a new file, new SQL query to update your old query that was wrong. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for example, you made a mistake and it has committed and it has merged. That's okay, you did a mistake. So the correct thing, create another merge request, create another SQL query that corrected your mistake. Okay? So that's common. That's common practice for all development firms. So I think that's a good lesson.
So the name of new files, you will see them. For example, this one, join session was class module. Here I'm dropping the foreign key and creating another thing. So the names of the first files to create the tables, but here we are modifying them by sequence. So this is the first thing, and this is the final. Final diagram, ERD.
Hi, have you tried to delete your database entirely and see that all migrations run on a
Yeah,
fresh system?
usually I always try that. Here,
Okay, good.
there's a drop table for all of them with cascade to delete the related tables and truncate for all of them. Sometimes I drop all of them to try them again. And here we are setting the foreign key chunks to 0 to allow to truncate the tables who has something in another tables to drop all of them. So that's it. And these two files are in the SQL instruction are here in the same folder. If somebody wants to use them.
And I think also try to go to the database again.
Mm-hmm.
Like the database view in your database viewer thing. It's not MySQL Workbench, but whatever you're using.
Yeah, it's MySQL.
Yeah, I mean like the other one where you had the diagram and all that before. The other application you have running.
It's SQL log.
Try going to Knex migrations table.
The table. Next one.
So you're using like two software, like one is Workbench and this is another.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, it might not work the way that I thought.
The before there's another one like Oracle is more powerful.
What is this you're using?
It's called SQL log.
Try the Knex migrations lock. Maybe it doesn't work the way I expected.
Run migration.
Just the table Knex migrations lock.
It's empty now.
Okay. Maybe it doesn't work exactly the way that I thought. But generally, somehow Knex is keeping a record of which migrations have you run in the past. And if you start changing those migrations, it will think that you have run them already because you did before you changed it,
Okay.
and then it won't run it with the new changes you think. So that's another reason that you need to always add new migrations. Never modify old ones. Yeah.
So there will be like a huge font and everything.
I will drop all of them and run migrate.
Try it out and see what happens.
Is that the reason why that when you like migrate, but you already have that table and then you will have error?
Sorry. It depends. It's probably not. If you run migrate and you already have the table, maybe the migration is. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if you don't deal with it somehow, it'll give you an error. It just stops.
Yeah. I think it's because either you have to like drop the table or you have to tell it how to integrate those changes. And if it wasn't done in the migration originally. Yeah, okay, so it added them right there.
Yeah.
So now it's telling exactly which migrations have already run. And then it go and have a look in the folder and sees if there are any migrations in the folder that are not there. And if it sees any migrations in the folder that are not already there, it will tell you, I'll run this one. If it doesn't see anything new, it will tell you, yeah, you have everything up to date. You're good.
Yeah, if I run migrate now, it will show me that
That you're good.
it's
Try
already
that.
updated.
Already up to date, yeah.
And what we built recently,
Yeah.
This is the classes, and here we added a button for add a class. And if I'm opening the classes page and click here, I can add a new class. For example, class 13, and I can set if it is active or not. Maybe we can use this later for soft delete. And I will be redirected here, and I will have the class here.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
Yep.
And here,
Trying with what?
Can we have a look, just a quick look at your classes modules table?
classes module 7. That it is.
And when we don't know the stuff that we just added, can we figure out what the ID was? on that?
Just select
Did you get
all
the ID?
ID descending.
I added the class here, it's here.
Yeah.
Stored here.
This ID 12, and then try
Yeah.
to go back to the classes module.
And here we canceled the right column because we started to think about the mobile first to make it integrated with mobile. It was not suitable at mobile, so just one list is enough.
Yep.
So here is a list to edit class or add menu of the class. For example, if I want to delete this class, just click here, delete. It will be deleted. Delete anyone. And we can edit the class. I will edit, for example, this one.
Delete number 5 and save us all.
We can cancel the also. I will change, for example, this one.
Did you check the what is called this title as well? So
No,
what is the
I'm
primary
not
key?
making this
On the ID.
visualization now. Just making the functionality maybe later.
Okay, makes sense.
The add module is not working up to now. We didn't complete it, but just I added here. I'm getting the class which I want to add module for it from the ID, and here the menu drop down list for the modules that we have. We can choose any one of them and add the repository, start date, and data. But it's not completed yet.
Okay. What kind of difficulties you're facing now, or is it something?
Just the time.
Okay, the time.
I was too busy last week. Okay. And we added here this drawer, and here is the modules that we have now. We can delete one of them or add here. The add button will add a new module. Also, this one is not completed yet, so I will go back. But we can delete, for example, I want to delete this one, or we can edit. It's not working yet. And this also compatible with mobile, so we can use the finger to drag and drop.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's cool.
like the mobile.
Well, first of all, from the mobile point of view, actually, there is no indication that there are some menus on the left. Do you understand what I mean? Like when you open, if I see this one, as I know that I need to press.
We
Yeah,
can,
cut
click,
there,
we can
cut
either
there.
click here or drag with
Yeah.
finger.
Yeah,
Both of them.
that's okay.
And that's it.
All right.
Looks amazing.
This is users, the old one.
Looks really great. Can you try to find the wireframes for the projects, for the iteration one? Then we just compare how much of it do you have sorted out right now.
Who was deleting stuff from the wireframe?
It's usually Jackie.
I don't think I've been deleting anything.
No, somebody like the frame of the admin view, somebody deleted.
Deleted.
I don't think so. Nobody did it.
Yeah, for
Well,
some
it's
reason,
updating.
for some reason this time we were able to edit the wireframe.
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, by mistake, somebody was like,
Yeah. Okay. That might be.
Wow.
Okay. So you focus mostly on that view right, right?
Yeah, I have the edit and admin will not complete it, but it's already, it's pretty ready.
So adding classes works. Adding modules, you still need some work on that one. Yeah, and that means also like all the stuff with assigning mentors is missing.
But I think did you add this add mentor one as well?
Not yet.
No. So there is no mentor module actually.
But I think for this stuff, I just imagine that mentors are hard coded. Did I write something about that? I think I did.
For mentors?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the database, there's all mentors.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you have them. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Sure.
I'm thinking about adding the spot maybe.
That's a good
we will
picture.
end it off.
Benjamin's picture, it doesn't look like one.
But especially like I think it's a television that's adjusted for like the setting that you have in the shop. So it's kind of like, oh, so it's really wild colors, and I want that television, and it just looks like shit.
Can you click what happened? Like when you click the name, the mentor's name.
It should view the profile.
Yes, actually,
Yeah,
They're doing free advertising, man.
I checked it and everything. That's working.
I know how.
I'm
So,
installing
yeah.
this website at one time.
Have you finished? Have you come up with solution for your redirect problem? Like if you just went back and then it just say the redirect problem that you explained last class you were struggling with.
And we fixed that. The one that was catch-up.
The URLs.
Yeah.
There's a problem now. They are working.
What the
Joe
issues?
helped me. There's a problem at the server file. I open it to show you what was it. Here.
Okay, explain the problem first. Then we will see the solution.
When I was opening a URL for the sample users and refresh at Heroku, it was not working.
Yeah.
It was going back to the base URL because I was splitting this /star with another file. I was adding here there were a router file here at the index, and here I added just a slash, and inside it the star. So it was not understanding it as one unit. When I moved it to here, it works fine.
What was it? Can you please like a little bit?
When I was opening the website at Heroku, for example, now I'm opening the live version. If I refresh, it was going back to the root, not opening the user's page.
Okay.
It's a page found.
Yeah.
It's because the one you just saw, the
Oh,
catch-all.
yeah, it was saying version of file, not
The catch-all is if it doesn't find the page, it just sends you the what's
Root
called
one,
the React that back, which in
I
theory
had
does
that problem, that's why I'm
Exactly,
asking it because,
it does nothing in theory if you just get the same file back, right, that you already are.
but it's in the server, right?
But by concatenating the what's called root and the star, it doesn't register it as a catch-all. It registers it as a string.
Okay.
So instead of saying, slash star is just catch-all, right? Like everything after. But if you're concatenating, it thinks that it's the character star,
Yes.
not the catch-all. So it would be the same as writing 1, 2, 3, 55 something. It's a page it doesn't recognize. It doesn't see it as a catch-all. That was kind of the problem.
What is the word you're repeating all the time?
Catch-all.
Catch all.
It's a word for. It's usually what you send
The
on
default.
full page.
The default. I mean,
Yeah.
if nothing,
Yeah.
nothing else match, I'm taking it.
Catches all the things.
Could
It will
we?
start at first to search for API, then or sequence it. If it didn't find anything, it will go to build file.
I can't stress this enough. The structure of the database, guys, is just
Yeah,
amazing.
it's like I had this problem when I asked about like what you are redirecting to, the redirecting. So then it was like instead of going to the client side, it was always showing the server like 400 instead of showing 3,000. And that's what like I always like every time I try to authenticate, it would always give me 404. Okay, it's not fun.
Yes. We've all been there at one point.
Okay, yeah, that's the one problem with my what's
And then-
called.
Yeah, and then you bypass or something like instead of getting it in client, you just directly show what the server is
The error that you were getting specifically, that's the one problem with my file structure. I think you made another structure. I'm not sure. Oh, it's roughly the same. But
Just the same.
when you develop locally
Oh, you got it.
on GitHub or Google, like everything that uses OAuth, you need a root directory and a redirect,
Yeah.
and they need to be exactly the same as the ones you got run on your server and locally. So if on OAuth you don't say localhost, port, whatever, and the exact route you're using, it needs to like match character by character. It'll give you an error because they need to match exactly. So if on your OAuth you set up a Heroku path and locally you use localhost, that won't work.
It was like because in a redirect I had 3,000. So like
Oh yeah,
and
it needs to be the server.
So it has and then I use 4,000 and
3,000 is local. You don't recognize.
I'm a little bit curious about how you're checking if the user is authenticated because you were refreshing the page and it's loading perfectly. I have like
cached.
Yes. What?
Is it? Yeah, I think yours one is cached.
On the client.
I started mistake.
On the client, how are you checking that the user is authenticated in each time?
I'm not checking currently.
since the key
Okay, but I mean, how are you logging in and how?
When I'm logging in,
I mean, what is happening when you're logging in? When you click logging in?
the server will send the request like the key. I think like when you do the GitHub or
I don't know if
like
they do it the same way.
is it the same like because when you use like
I don't know. I haven't checked theirs.
Yeah, I could check. I have your repo here.
Do you log in once or do you keep checking if they're logged in?
Okay, green tea and lemon is very good, guys.
What?
Green tea and lemon, I'm just giving the review. Very good and healthy. I feel better already. And in the meanwhile, I came up with a joke.
Is it tea?
No.
Yeah.
So what about next? Well, I didn't got any migration, but I got a big migraine.
I didn't get it.
That's a good joke.
I didn't get it.
You didn't get work with the migration, but you got the migraine.
It's a fun.
There's a pain in the
Yeah,
head.
migraine.
Because I didn't know the word.
You probably installed it globally by mistake.
You need to do both.
I need to do
You need to do the local and global.
Yeah.
Oh, it's migraine. Got
Oh, you like me.
Here at the
it.
nav bar,
That's one.
I'm checking if the user is logged in. It's the same code for Joe. That's
Okay.
the only
Okay,
thing.
so it's just every time you log, it checks.
Yeah. Every time it's in the nav bar.
Okay, but I mean, if you are logged out and you try to go to users in the URL, what is gonna happen? Like try to log out. Yes.
To open the same.
Yeah, and okay.
But I think that
You don't have like admin
yeah.
I'm not making any authentication yet.
there is no authorization part actually. Yeah. You did? Okay, that's good.
Give that man some camera.
But I think you guys know what's the difference between authentication and authorization.
Yeah. Some buttons.
Okay, should I remember? Okay. I didn't style it at all. It's just a heads up.
okay.
But if you were using Material UI, you
No,
would
because
have to.
that's just it. I didn't want to style it because I just tried to do the wireframes. And exactly the wireframes, almost.
The issue
I know.
is if there's a wired.js.
What?
I always
Yeah.
complain that the students if I do a design, I always complain that the students they don't try to make the design, they try to make up the design. So now I only did wireframes because it's kind of like you're going to come up with your designs anyway, and you're just doing the wireframes.
I didn't want to focus on design because that took so much.
So you probably spend a lot of time actually making it look like the
No,
wireframes.
that's just
okay.
it.
Okay, good.
It saved me
Okay.
a lot of time to,
Okay, that's good. That's good. Then.
because I could use Flexbox.
Yeah. Okay.
Done.
Is it
Cool.
I think it's good like.
So did we lose the call again, or is it still running? It's still running. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna
There we go.
send to the group. This is what you need, Joe.
Yeah, look at that.
Mm.
And that's for you. Specifically for you.
Alright. So it's ugly, but this is how it'll look if you're not logged in, right? So just to demonstrate, whoops, this would be, I'm not logged in right now, right? So if I go to the admin view, it'll say I need to log in, right? I have this one user in database made as a, what's it called?
Yes.
Yeah, it says one as admin. When I log in, it'll show me by info, and then it'll render this, the admin view, right? It's really ugly, and it's the exact same as the wireframe. Just so you know.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Yo,
But how did the colors?
what's up if you refresh the page right now? I was having a small, blinking. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I was not
why
able
does
to.
it happen then?
It's because it waits for the Ajax call. I could make a what's it called
A spinner.
a spinner. Yeah, but I
No,
didn't
spinner.
really want to spend time on that because that's.
You could just copy paste all the things from last time.
Yeah, but it'll take 5 minutes, and I didn't want to spend 5 minutes on it.
Yeah.
But
He already established he didn't want to work on the UI. So
yeah,
let's.
exactly. So it's almost an MVP, but
Yeah.
you can add a class, right? So let's say class 1. My promises they don't quite work, but it'll add it, right? Sometimes it works. Sometimes I need to. It's a.
You have,
You have to check
you
it
have,
out.
you have broken promises.
Yeah, but it adds it every time to the database and it gets it back. Sometimes it just renders before the promise resolves. I still need to fix that.
Well,
Every time,
and you are using any kind of jQuery or
No.
No.
pure JavaScript. See,
Okay,
this
now it
time it
works.
works. Yeah, right. So it's the promises that don't. It renders before the promises has resolved, but I know how to fix it. It will just take a bit of time.
Okay.
So we have a class, right? So let's say you can add as many as you want. It'll keep
Think
rendering
into it.
stuff. Yeah. So you can add. You can also add modules, right?
Nice.
So let's say this week you can only choose Sundays. By the way,
Okay.
So everything is disabled.
So everything
sorry,
else is good now.
Right.
what's the name of this component that we're using, the calendar one?
I think it's available jet picker component.
React picker, and then I made a lot
React
of,
date picker?
and then I've customized it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So you can also choose the module.
Mm-hmm.
These are also in database, whatever. And then this one becomes available.
Okay.
Then you can instantiate it, right? So when I click this, it'll make each one of these lines are sessions. So up here it'll show each like week, right? Each session, and then it'll show all available mentors. I just added a couple to demonstrate.
And that's like all the mentors in the system, right?
Yeah,
Because you're not.
all the mentors in the system.
Yeah,
and
because
only
you're not
mentors.
determining whether they're actually available.
Not
or
yet,
are you?
not yet. I just,
Yeah.
I just wanted the MVP, right?
Sure.
Okay, so you can assign everything like to each, what's it called, session, and each mentor will be assigned to it, and it only shows assigned when they are actually assigned. I figured this out late yesterday, and that's what I'll implement into the other mentor view. But when this is an Ajax call, which is also a promise that sends to the database like the mentor and which session I want to assign it to. And when all that is done and the promise actually is resolved, I then update in state and make this update. So this is correct. I'll need to put
So
that.
if the server is responding slowly and you press assign, it'll just say assign until that promise
Exactly.
comes back. Yeah. Cool.
Exactly. And I can do this concept everywhere because the code is basically the same everywhere. But this this is my one thing I still need to do. In this mentor view, the class is made and everything is assigned. I just don't render it yet. That's the one thing I still need. After that, I'll have the MVP.
Nice.
But
Actually, about the assigning thing,
for assigning,
I don't remember the name of it.
it's dynamic. By the way.
I think it's called Optimistic UI or something like that. I think it's Instagram who started out doing that. And what they actually do is if you press hard on something, like imagine you press assign here, then it will say assign, then it sends the promise, then when it gets the promise back, if the promise, it did actually assign successfully, it will do nothing. But if it comes back and it says, we couldn't do it on the back end for some whatever reason, then it'll just like flip the heart off again, or it might give you like a message that, we couldn't like this picture right at this moment. That's just like something to consider because it makes the UI feel more snappy.
Right.
But also you don't get in a situation where the user might be like pressing assign like that.
Exactly.
But you could like disable it right after they press assign or something like that, so it's clear that it's
that's easily done by. But the reason I did this specifically was because in the in the wireframes you wanted what's called later maybe to.
Yes, like confirmations.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I don't think this kind of action is actually that suitable for the optimistic UI thing, because that's generally something you do for not very important things. If it's like you make a transfer in your bank and it's like transfer and it says, yeah, your money has been transferred, and then the while after it comes back and be like, about that transfer, didn't quite work out.
Yeah, exactly. But I had this in mind, the pending thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to load pending until I could like resolve it, and then in the server I'll only resolve it or resolve it when it's.
That would make really good sense because pending might be that I haven't responded yet, but it could also be like the system is still working.
Exactly. And I could do that by before it resolves. I render pending, like after click, and then promise, and then.
But that's small details.
Exactly. That's just details. I just tried to get it to work.
Yeah, it works quite well the way you have it
And
around.
this thing, it'll dynamically show how many weeks you assigned to this specific module.
Okay.
Also months. If there's 1 month, it'll show only 1. 5, it'll show 5.
Okay. So if you do like all 12 months, it will like push them together.
You can't see anything. I can try that. I haven't actually tried that. I don't think you can read anything, but
That's okay.
from January to
Or maybe a few years.
yeah, 3 years.
Well, first of all, there should,
Yeah.
Actually, it's not that bad. So you can only see
Yeah, I limited it to 3 months because I didn't think any
But
module
wait,
would be more than 3.
so that's the week numbers, right?
Yeah.
So they're not matching the months at all.
Nope, not now.
Yeah, okay.
There's still a few UI things, but the functionality is there. Just not rendering the
Well,
module
first
yet.
of all, it's not a UI thing. It means your component is not super well structured. Because,
Oh yeah, it's not.
so-
That wasn't the idea.
Yeah.
Can you show the like your some database query and like backend version, like what how did you do it?
Yes, I'm very curious about the backend.
Oh no, not the backend. Okay.
The roots basically you were using in the API.
I did a very, very not dry method of making this to try to be very clear on what I was trying to do if people were looking at the, what's it called, code. So I have on the client a lot of API calls, basically one for each action I'm doing. So there's a create class module, like assignment, so everything has its own query, right? This is the server. And the API basically has one that reflects it, right? It's just some extra to see if users log in and there's admin and stuff like that. Get and get and get and set and goes, right? There's one for each action. I could make one universal that just passes it the what's called path I want and the if there's data or not.
Okay.
You could do that, like only have two, like one post and one get.
Oh, very organized. I mean, this way you know exactly which.
Yeah, but it's not dry. You can see there's a lot of what's it called, repetition, unnecessary. But I did this to like make clear what I was doing
Yeah, I
for
think
people
that's.
reading it.
Have you tried any kind of what is called this API documentation? Like there are tons of plugins where you can just easily create your API documentation for the users.
I could do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I
just
could use
using some
JS docs or
plugins
something.
or something.
Yeah, I
It
can
will
use JS
automatically
docs.
create the documentation.
But that wasn't.
I don't think it's a problem
Yeah,
to write.
I was just focusing on getting stuff to work. Okay, so on the server, right? Come on. When I do a post request like an AJAX call, it hits whatever endpoint it is. There's a couple of ways I handle it. If there's data in it, I pass it. If there's not, oh boy. But if there's some routes that require you to be admin view as admin view, right? And each time it renders something like the root. Let's see.
You're talking about authorization.
Yeah.
Okay.
First thing. So every time the root element, like the thing at the bottom, it renders each time, right? Like the one that contains the routes. Let's see here. This one. Like where all my routes is. This loads each time, right? And then it decides what's showing. It's here in this mount that I. When this mounts, I check if you're logged in.
Okay. So
Right?
this is on the
So-
router.
Exactly, and I store it in state.
Yeah.
Like in this state is authenticated, and then the user.
Mhm.
So I can access this everywhere, right? Because I don't use Redux or context. You really should, but I didn't. Okay. So, let's see here. Is it here? Well, there it is. Yeah, what's it called? I'll get all the user information from the server, right? You can see.
Why the white theme there in the React DevTools?
Users.
Sorry, you didn't change the theme at all.
Yeah, I did it, and then reinstalling Windows.
Oh, what a surprise!
Yeah, right. So it looks weird because it's low res, but this is the user, right? I log in with. The other ones are just a couple of mentions I added. You could also add students, but it doesn't really matter at the moment. But there's specific role IDs which is a join from another table, right? That's your database I used. Role ID 1 is admin, role 2 is mentor, and 3 is student. If you have 1, I'll show you, I know you're a mentor, and I get that from the database each time, right? So when I load a new page, it basically checks again with the server if you're logged in and if you're an admin. So you can't access this if you're not, right? So it's security.
Yeah. But well, there are some practice that it's a long field, or it's a huge field actually. Like think about the situation like I'm only a user, and I know the ID 1 is the admin. I go into the database and change my role ID that hey, now I just change it to 1 and I'm becoming an admin. I think that's not a good idea. So there are several approaches to handle these issues, but do you understand what I mean?
But how can you change it?
how
Exactly.
how access to it.
Yeah,
I
how
mean,
can
if you have
change
access to the
that?
database, you have access to
It's like a situation where you get the database access and you can change. Yeah.
I mean, but if I got access to the database, I mean,
No. The idea is if you get the access of the database, there should some kind of protection that though you get the data, but there is some kind of thing that
like in a
kind of-
product like
What do you
this.
suggest?
I mean,
How would you
Well,
solve that?
the idea that users do, one idea is that they're using some kind of hash that no one even understands what is what.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. It'll just take a lot of time to do that. I could like solve it and encrypt it and send it and do that.
So
all
it's
the time,
not something real ID.
Yeah.
So it's some kind of hash that doesn't make any sense that whether it is admin or normal user. But on your system process, then it knows that this is that and go here.
Right, I would do that and also do that with passwords as well.
Yeah.
Like solve it, encrypt it, send it, and encrypt it again on the server. That's how you normally would do it, right?
That's the practice that we do in production or in our development side.
But it didn't quite make sense for this project.
That's okay.
But it's good to know about
Okay.
using as a hash.
Sorry. I said it in state that you're an what's called also in the cookie that you're an admin. That's important.
You put it in on the cookies.
Yeah,
Of
because I
course,
keep
of
sending
course
you
you
back
do.
and forth.
Yeah, that's-
So let's say this admin route, right? I only want to show you this if you're a mentor. So on the server,
Right, sorry. Yes. That's-
What?
He's like processing.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, sometimes when your computer is processing something and it takes it is the same kind of knowledge actually. So ignore it.
Could you refresh me exactly how you put that information in the cookie? I mean, when you are
It's in if you're using mice, which you are, so everyone is. You're all doing it basically.
No, I thought it was only the time that like the age of cookie, but not with the
okay, when-
ideas.
I mean, but you're
Up
using
to
it's a single cookie. Is it the same cookie that you were putting the authentication from Google or GitHub? In there, you're also putting the role as an admin. Okay.
the information you choose to send. It sends.
I don't remember exactly where you were
Serializing,
choosing-
deserializing.
serialize. Okay.
Okay, here, right? This is where the magic part for
Magic
everyone that didn't do it, but it's also a bit of magic for me. But when where is it here? Okay, first of all, I select a user
Yes.
in this, right? I see if there is a user. If there is, I return the user
Okay.
in done, right? And result. Like I select everything, the first one because there will only be one. I check for a specific unique ID, so that will only be one. If okay, maybe I'll do it a bit more simple. Try to select everything with Google ID. That will be specific. There's only one person with that Google ID, right?
Yes.
If that exists, if that doesn't exist, like it's undefined or zero or there, if it doesn't exist, I then make a new one, like a new user with this Google ID
Yes.
because it doesn't exist in our database. So we'll make a new one. We then, when we make a new one, return the new one, and return what's it called in this user object, and this user object is basically all the data we choose to insert in it.
Yes.
Right? Everything we get back from Google, the Google authentication. because the Google OAuth gives us all this data from Google, right? We then put it in the user. If they already exist, this query won't run, right? So it jumps straight on here.
Okay,
And
and
results
there,
0 because we already have it in the database.
there already you have a type field.
Tap field.
I saw that there was a type field there when you were creating the user over there.
Yeah.
Type.
It'll be null. It'll be made as null.
What that
Okay.
type refers to?
Here, it'll be plus person. The kind of authentication you have.
Okay.
I will remake this, but I don't really use this anywhere for anything other than mentors. A mentor.
Okay, but that's the information, the role that you're gonna be checking, that you're gonna be.
No, I don't check this. I check the role ID.
But then why you put that information
It's
there?
user.
Okay.
I just put when I did insert into users, I thought it was this one I checked. It wasn't. So
So
I did both, but I only used all of these. But that's not important. When I results 0, right? That would be the one that I found, the one user that I found in database. So if I do this,
So where's like you saved it? You told that you saved the cookie as well, no?
Hmm?
And
yeah, I'll get to that. Oops. I'll get this one user back, right? This is the query that I'll get if I try to log in,
Yeah.
right? I'll get this one user, and I'll always get 1. So I can't check just result 0 each time. This will then run done. I don't pass this. We really don't need this callback and result 0. This then gets put into passport.serialize user. This is the magic.
Why are you also resolving? I mean, after the done, you resolve. Just before you were doing done, and afterwards,
You mean this?
Yeah, you were.
Don't need to.
Okay, perfect.
But it was when I was making it, I was debugging, but it doesn't really do anything.
Okay.
So, you could remove. Okay, but when you serialize user, this is where the magic happens. You take all this data you just got from the database,
Yes.
right? Putting it into a cookie, because it's really not that kind of cookie. It's an HTTP cookie, so it gets encrypted, sent to the user, right? Or not encrypted per se. Okay, you'll get the thing. And we know, we have this information, it's now accessible, right? That gets put into user in, this thing is really
you could just try.
where is you get there?
Don't get mad, but do you already have there the role ID? I mean, are
What do you mean? Oh yeah, role ID right now I hard coded. I don't have any way to give admin or mentor or something yet. It will take long. You could make a view that selects all users, like gets all users back, and then, but you need to have at least one admin for like everything to work.
for sure that's one of the dangerous things of using, like Passport, all these libraries that they are abstracting things that you just put the code there, and what actually is going on there is quite important, quite hard also to understand. And here is like a couple of final code.
But I personally don't think it's a big problem not knowing exactly how they serialize it.
It's
And about like hard coding users and stuff like that. That's totally what we expected. There is this thing though that if you authenticate the OAuth like that, you kind of like have to have someone go and register. You can't just like make a fake user because it has to go through the OAuth flow. So that's a little bit annoying. You have to, if you have to create an admin, you have to go in there and get whatever person who wants to be an admin to register, and then you have to go maybe in the database and set a.
Exactly. You could also
admin
see
flag
it
or something.
somehow. If you already have it once, you could see it. But it's like if you just need one admin, and then you could make everything else from UI, right? It just takes time. But right, this query, the whole authentication part, right? It gets run each time you try to log in. It doesn't run each time you log in, but it checks the server if you exist each time, right? This API call gets called each time, so it checks you everywhere you go. What I tried to talk about that is I have some routes that are protected by auth that is admin, right? It's this one, auth is admin. It basically checks you if you're an admin. If you are, the rest of the route, what's called, gets executed.
Nice.
So then you can create a class and then you can do stuff. If you're not an admin, none of this is accessible. Even if you somehow get the admin page,
Yes.
you need to go into the database and
Yeah,
execute it.
but can you show us the authorization logic, like where you put like you can see this page and you couldn't see that page or something similar?
That's client side.
Okay,
They-
but
they-
did you do?
I authorize on server and render if you authorized on client.
Can you show us the code that you use?
Which part?
Yeah, like
Go to app.js in the router.
yeah, like
on the client.
think like a situation like this admin or this user can see this page and this user couldn't see
Alright.
that page.
But that wasn't that sort of what we were looking at, right?
This would be okay. We're admin page, right? Where is it? Here it is. So if this the prop the user the role ID equals 1, which would be admin, then I render the admin page. The only way you can get this if you're authenticated from the database, right?
Okay.
And if not, you need to be an admin to show this. You could, in theory, just change it in state, but then you won't get any data back because you need to be an admin to get that data as well.
One way I saw they were doing it, they were also making a high order component that was basically wrapping the component and doing the check so you could reuse it.
You could easily do that. But I want to keep it simple.
Yeah, no, of course.
That's why I was thinking that you did a similar kind of concept or
Kind of.
Also like the idea about having like roles and permissions. So if you had that, now when you start adding new pages, which are accessible to students and mentors and admin, then you have to go to every single component and update that condition there and say student or actually in this case you would just remove it. But anyhow, so it's just like a way to go and say if it has this role, and I mean like the basic role that allows you to show everything is something that will be applied to both student mentors and admin. So just say if it has this role, it's good. But it's again, it's just like it's
makes sense.
refining things rather than just getting something to work. And you did get something to work, and it's great. It's not it's definitely not necessary to go play everything.
What's it called? I use Zuhair groups. What's it called? Database, right? I only use this. I don't use.
Just don't use the permissions. Yeah. Okay.
I could, and it's there, and I could use it. It's just not necessary now.
Yeah.
Right? I just needed the minimum working part.
Sure.
You could implement that easily. Like if you have this role, then check which permissions you have from the server and insert it. You could do that, and it's the framework is there. It's just what you need now. So, that's. I don't know if you have any questions.
Yeah, I mean the highlight that I want to do is that unlike routing also fast, you actually configure Webpack and Babel by yourself. Is that right? You didn't use
Not this time.
Not this time. Okay.
There's only one configuration that I really changed, and that's the.
Okay, but you did it at one point. You actually managed to make the React UI work without using Great React app.
Yeah.
That's like how exactly. I mean, how you
I use
learn.
Parcel, so I use Parcel instead of Webpack, so it's basically already configured.
Okay.
When I tried to set it up myself.
Can you repeat the name of the
Parcel.
Parcel.
Okay.
Similar to Webpack.
Okay.
It's
So
not
you
simpler.
It's easier to
use
Zero
React
configuration.
app.
This time I use Great React app.
Okay.
So
But do you have any explanation why you change your idea to change this Webpack thing? Like
Oh, I didn't change it. This is Webpack.
Did
not Parcel. He just asked if I knew how to do it.
Okay.
I don't know about you guys, but I hate at this point using Create React App because I don't know what's going on.
Right, exactly. And that's why I tried to learn it. There's a. I don't think.
But do you really know how this Webpack
No, I don't know. I mean, I wanna.
I mean,
There's some tutorials online.
if you want to get started, I can give you some resources, but I don't think that's a priority right now.
No.
But,
it's in
But
my.
I did go through all that, like how to set up Webpack with React. That was like before Create React App, and then I finally learned how to set up Webpack correctly, and then Create React App came around, and I was just like, I'm just gonna do this.
It's a lot of work.
Well, I was trying to do that, I think, a few weeks ago, just for fun. Just creating a simple app, but there are still some performance issue. But what I was trying to do, I installed Webpack individually, I installed React individually, I installed Babel individually, and just try to run a very simple React app.
Simplest.
Yeah. Do you really need that?
No, that's for the drawing, but
Okay,
it's something
just
that at one
curious.
point I would
But
like
I
to
think
learn on.
if you go into my GitHub page,
Yes.
there is something you will find like Webpack 5 with this combination.
But what do you think? When, let's say you actually learn how to do it, it's something that you're just gonna repeat just like it is most of the times, or it's something that you can actually configure a little bit, to change like something that. Yeah.
I mean, my problem with configuring Webpack is that I think the way that they set it up is a little bit overly complicated, and the problem there is not so much because it's fine if you do this every day, you'll get by it, and then you'll learn how to do it, and it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But I would have to go and read a guide now, even though I did learn all these things.
Man, I've seen the videos.
And the thing is, something like setting up a new project is not something that you do that often.
Yeah.
So you forget it quite easily.
Yes.
And that's why I think it makes a lot of sense to rely on something like Create React App, or maybe a tool like Parcel, which has like a little more like out of the box. This is how we get running with React. But on the other hand, if you do learn to customize Webpack, if you do know all the tools that are in there, because there's some really powerful tools, then that's also like a really big factor. Also, like in getting a job, it can be a really good selling point. Because I mean, if you can go in and you can like more detailed configure to make sure that we bundle only the right CSS with this component, so we don't take too much CSS and stuff like that. You can like optimize some things, and this is one of the skills that are not that common. That's something.
And usually in a company like that's what's happened. They don't use Create React App.
But yeah,
I think a lot of people actually do. So what happened with us was that
They do not use Create React
we do use Create React App at the moment. For
Yeah.
our previous React projects, we also used Create React App, but then we tried to eject it and tried to customize, and realized that was like a really bad idea because we couldn't get any updates. You can't get any updates to Create React App once you eject it. So we actually went back, and then instead of doing the eject thing, then we did like some custom scripts for Create React App, and that's actually the way that you're supposed to extend Create React App, is that you create your own custom scripts and you configure Create React App to use those custom scripts.
I always thought that in the professional environment, I mean, we're not using Create React App. It's good to know that
I
actually.
think a lot of people in professional environments are using Create React App.
It really depends on the scale of the project. Facebook would never use Create React App, right? Like those giant. But if you're like a small startup,
I think a lot of people adapting their workflow to work with that, because there are so many things that work out of the box. I also saw it when I was interviewing for jobs. I was kind of like asking for like, so what do you do? And a lot of people say, maybe just use to Create React App. Or if I had to like give them a programming task or something like that, they were just like, just to Create React App, do something Create. So a lot of people are definitely using it. I don't know how the level is, like how many people are moving on to Parcel and all that stuff.
but it's not like just because it comes prepackaged, so it's a bad thing. Again, it depends. It depends on the
Yeah,
project.
it depends on the
Um,
task and project and what
Yeah.
exactly you would like to achieve, or how many manpower you
But
have.
because it's something that people do fairly rarely, it makes a lot of sense to try to hook into what some other people are doing and something that they're really specialized in. Because the guys who are maintaining Great React App, I don't know if they're doing it full time, but they definitely they refine it like several times a week.
There's
Probably.
not many things you can't do anymore with when you're not ejected. You can like use CSS modules and everything now, even though you're not ejected. So
That's
you
the
can customize
good
it.
side of creating this.
Should we go grab lunch?
Unless one day you join a team that has a very obsolete webpack that you need to upgrade. And the project already grew big enough.
So let's meet at 2:40.
That's my situation.
I can't imagine that.
Whatever, let's just keep it going.
Do you have a terminal installed? Oh, I didn't. I don't have anything like that installed. I have a terminal, like a Linux terminal. See, what I have is really just, if I open a terminal, right? This is basically just Linux. Let's give it a second, it's a bit. This is Ubuntu. I gave it a skin, but this is the exact same thing. It's Windows subsystem for Linux, and then I just installed MySQL on this. And that's it. Like it's Linux. Is it this you wanted, or is it?
Yeah, I also make it in like this terminal but on Windows.
Oh yeah, this is Linux on Windows.
Can you send me the file or?
It's not a file. You want that? If you want that, that's easy to install. Search. Linux. Turn on. Okay. Then search installer. Like it's a Windows feature.
Well, I installed Workbench. It's installed.
That's Windows.
Something. A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work on terminal on this.
Is it possible? But just so you know, this installs a new instance of a what's it called, operating system, basically. Like that Linux install. Let's say I have Node installed on this, right? Exit. I have Node actually, right? I have Node installed on this, but I don't even think that I have Node installed on Windows. No, I don't. So it's an operating system in itself. When I run Node from here, that's the only thing that runs, right? So this is if I say cd, do you know Linux? Root. This is like, you can see there's like bin and boot and everything. This is Linux. If I do mnt, that's here ls. Now I can see C drive. That's where Windows is, right? So C drive C is where Windows is installed right now. You can see all the Windows stuff. But if I go up again, this, I mean, you can see this is where Windows would be installed. Everything else is Linux. So it's
It's like an, as you say, an operating system covering.
yeah, but this shows it covering Windows, but in reality Windows is covering this. So, but it's a bit weird with path names.
What's your GitHub and repo?
Mine?
Yes.
The one that I showed you, that is
So it's this one. Okay. Let's start.
what's it called? Oh yeah, Windows Store. Go into that.
Sleep on start.
Oh no, we don't need to start right now. We need to Windows Store. No, it's usually okay. Microsoft Store. Search Linux. Do you have any preferred Linux operating system? Ubuntu is probably the easiest.
But
This is
I
one.
mentioned
This is what most people use, so it'd be easy to search on the internet for stuff. Is it? Get? I think. Well, this is what you need to install. Then it will install something called Ubuntu on your computer, and then you can use that as the operating system. The thing to install MySQL.
how can I look to what we have installed now?
Right now, that's the thing. That's called the container. That's the container you can install a Linux on. That's the.
And how can I install the terminal? Like
This. Maybe you need to restart first. Maybe try that.
our
Yes,
much.
I can help you after these.
I've been better though. I've been better.
Sit. Sit.
Little bit. But you know, it's the time of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't get it already,
I will get on
there you go.
earlier. This is starting. Feel it.
Well, I mean, take a look at the situation right now. We are in a small room, and at least
yeah.
half of us is
Right.
sick. So
And coughing and
Yeah.
touching. Yeah.
it would be a surprise if you actually survive this. So, what are your feelings? What are your feelings regarding the project in general? Expectations?
It's been a bit unorganized. We've had like 3 action weeks to be able to.
Yeah, it was very ambitious.
I mean, it was pretty good. I really liked it. It was I just think there's been some miscommunication somewhere.
My advice for future batches for future final projects, it would be like if it's gonna be a big project like this one, try.
Is recording?
Okay, it's gonna be real. Try to make maybe the back end all together so that they have like everybody's working with the same structure, and then maybe have a little bit of freedom regarding the front end.
Yeah.
If it's a project of these characteristics. That maybe now it doesn't matter, but I do remember at the beginning when the wireframes were like this big.
I mean, it's really hard to like calculate how far people get, right? And people are completely different places. Some people will barely be able to probably make something in 6 weeks if they knew exactly what to do, right? And others would make it and make even more, right? So it's probably a good thing that they had like goal in mind, maybe not optimistic first and maybe an optimistic one at first.
Yeah.
Because I really think we could have made that if we had more time. And we've had like what, 3 action weeks of development?
Yeah. Besides, I don't know about you, but at least for me it happens that when I realize, that already that it's not gonna be possible to finish it,
Motivation.
that voice, in your head, like the first issue you find out, like, okay, why? Don't even try to solve it, man. It doesn't work. Anyways, you're not gonna be able to finish it. That's a bad thing. I mean, I'm not proud of.
I mean, it's probably how some people differ. I mean, I completely understand the feeling. I just don't get it myself. I'm that stubborn asshole that just keeps trying. I could spend days trying to solve one shitty problem until I solve it because I get stubborn. It's not because that I know what I'm doing or something like that at all. It's just because I really hate to be defeated by problems, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get it. Actually, I mean, that's for what I've seen. That's an actual characteristic of most of programmers.
But again, as one of the mentors said, I don't know if it's actually a good thing because I can waste a lot of time. Yeah.
What do you waste time on?
It was just talking with that.
Playing games.
We're just talking that if there's something that like it's not working or something, maybe you could sometimes lose motivation to like try to finish like a bigger project or something like that, right? If you like hit a roadblock or something.
Yeah.
Right? If you like maybe.
That's one of the reasons that I never pushed further in becoming a developer.
Right.
I get too frustrated with this shit.
I mean, but at least for you, Joe, it always happened that when someone in class got a problem, you already been there and you solved it most of the times.
I think it's time. I probably have spent more time on it than. I know a lot of people have jobs and a lot of other stuff they need to do. I have quite a lot of time on my hands. So.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
You can just persist, but that's a quality persistence, right?
No,
Yeah.
But it's true that maybe in a professional thing, you can't really have like, imagine a boss asking, okay, what about that project? Dude, I was starting it and I found out this problem and I just, I'm still starting with that.
Right.
Dude, but it's been 10 days.
Exactly.
I can't solve it. I can solve it. Move on. I can't.
Exactly. That's it. That's how I probably maybe would even end up with like it's a pro-con thing, right? If you need to know when to give up, right? Like when to keep trying to fix it and when to move on.
Do you guys use Stack Overflow, for example?
I know. I don't use it. I mean, I search on it, but I don't.
You don't put the.
Oh no.
Because basically everything has been already asked.
Ish.
Yeah.
You can implement whatever you are implementing in a slightly different way with a slightly different, and then it's completely different.
Right.
And then the problem, like the Heroku problem that you guys were having in the beginning, like there was thousands and thousands of articles about them, and you all read them, and you couldn't fix it because you were thinking about that. I think that was the main problem, the inject part.
You have that inject part in your instructions, and that part you were assuming that that part was correct,
Right.
and probably you wouldn't state it on formulating the problem in Stack Overflow.
The thing I did was just give up completely on the way that you're trying to make it, and I just
sometimes
did it
that's
my
so
own way.
difficult. Sometimes it's so difficult to. What is starting from scratch?
Oh,
Sometimes it's so difficult because I've done this little piece of code that I'm so
Right.
proud.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I don't want
Right,
to
right.
give this up, so I'm just gonna start here, and the problem is like a step behind all.
Right.
Right.
And then you stack a lot of stuff on top of something that doesn't quite work as it's supposed to. Right. So.
that's a real feeling.
Yeah. Really is.
That's why it's good to have another set of eyes next to you. And I understand maybe having an experience in a very small context that your internship or work as a
Internship.
Yeah. So maybe for you, it's not like I have a team behind me that I can Stack Overflow, you know. But but I've worked in teams when I was developing SQL, and I was just, man, I can't do it. Please come here, and my colleague would just, it's this shit. Oh my god, yes, fuck.
That would be amazing, you know, like actually having,
Senior.
see exactly. That's, having
Yes.
that thing, like,
I'm sorry.
Why don't we discuss, or should we really need any discussion?
About what? About the.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we can talk a little bit about it, yeah. But yeah.
If it is not super urgent, then we can.
No, what I was trying to build was imagining. Zaki was very interested in the research topics and getting some. Sorry, guys.
No, don't worry about it. It's fine.
It's very.
I think like most of that motivation stuff, it'll probably come with experience. Like not experience with being demotivated at all, but I like when to give up and when to not, right?
Yeah.
Because when something's not working and you don't know what it is, and most of the time, well, at least what happens to me is sometimes you get into that thing, train of thought that maybe I just don't know how to do this and won't know, right? And then you just get demotivated and stop. That's what happens to me, and that's why I want to make something to work, because I want to know how to do something.
oh yeah, that's.
Because I want to learn it, right? Not because that I
Yeah, we don't have it.
am good at something. What?
That's the trash bin. Yeah.
Say so? There was trash in this.
Okay. Kind of
Yeah.
fancy one.
Oh no, it's a pot.
But
But-
I mean, have you already like reached? Because I mean, I always had an issue, basically, since till now, that there are so many things to learn, but you don't. I was not finding the point where I was recognizing that okay, this is really what I want to learn, and I don't. It's okay if I spend days and weeks like trying to learn everything of this because I know that it's an investment. And now I think that with the React, I'm reaching that point. You know, I wouldn't really mind like being 1 week reading about Webpack and because I know it's something that
Like specializing in something.
do you think that you are, because I know that you really like back end, so.
Oh, I read a lot about everything.
Okay.
I spread out too much, maybe.
Yes.
Let's go. I mean, I've done the same. I'm doing the exact same thing as you. Like, you feel comfortable enough in something that you feel like maybe okay, I want to reach out to something new, right? Learn something more, and maybe not do the magic, right? Because I hate when something is magic.
Yes.
Like passport, the serializing stuff.
Certainly.
What the hell is happening, right?
Yeah.
You just give it a function, and then I get this
Great.
thing. Exactly. But you read into it, and then you realize, holy shit, it's so much. Like, it's so hard prioritizing what to focus on, right? And what to learn, and when you will actually get to use this.
You know, like really now at this point, I kind of really believe that the whole full stack thing is just a myth. I mean,
Yeah.
of course you can do both things like at a certain level, but like being good
Yeah,
doing
good.
both parts. No, I can't believe it. Sorry, I mean you can have enough like to do a setup, a backend setup, and kind of have something working, but
I mean, it's probably pretty hard to be full stack as such in JavaScript because it's so evolving so often, right? But like, if you imagine .NET, that's not as quick. So things don't change as quickly. You can actually use React and .NET.
Oh, really?
With Microsoft. But PHP is a great example. It hasn't changed in years, right? If you use Laravel or something like that, it's been the same for years. You could get extremely good at that, right?
It's dying, Joe. It's fucking dying.
I know, but that's not the point. I know, I completely agree. But like, you can get good at that, like really good, and then you can start with React and stuff. Like, we haven't been doing this for more than like what? There's no time.
Have you checked this library?
Which one?
It's super cool.
It's just for you. It's exactly for you.
The guy who can make the whole app in. What?
Well, this this.
Yeah, that's brilliant, dude. Like.
That's exactly what you did.
It is. That's amazing. I need this. I bookmarked it.
They have library for this kind of. So the next week we are going to present.
Is it?
Yeah, that's what Jackie said.
Supposed to. Have nothing to present.
Zoe asked Christopher, like, can we opt some out from the
If you could what?
opt some out from the presentation and then
Opt out.
yeah, and then, like there's no answer. It's like it's still in the promised land.
Still in the promised land.
I remember some guy talking about this promise, and then he told like because this promise has this thing like a promised land where it has to go. It has to go and then do something in that promised land, and only can return the promise or something. He was mentioning about that, and that was promised land.
Promised land. It's so ugly.
No, I don't think so. It's alright. I think it's fine. Like
No, this.
Yes, yeah, it's fine. This is working.
Did you see the components?
Right? You don't have to think a lot. Come on, about the UX.
Oh no, that's not a bit. It's like ugly in a specific way. What?
Right?
Right. It's like what?
Yes.
It's like what? It's like you can't probably can't that hard. It's like ugly in a specific way, like intentionally ugly in a specific. Like you look at that. What?
Fancy to do.
What?
That doesn't look like fancy.
It's black and white or very ugly red or blue.
Yeah, that's like that's default, you know. That's like default.
It's like it's like intentionally ugly.
I think that's made for all backend developers.
It's great for like making a joke, probably. I would probably use this.
This is joke. Like, you actually use a library to make the whole page look like white.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what like who would make like a library for like. Right.
It's great.
I was amazed when I saw it. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. It like completely defeats the purpose of a wireframe to do something quickly to just have an idea of it. You have to spend time to implement this. I love it. It's ironic, it's sarcastic. It's
So
great.
if you like playing chess, we can play chess.
Chess?
Yeah.
What?
This we talked about board game last time. Like,
Mm.
we were so like we could play chess. Like I'm not that bad.
have any tangerines left.
I think there was like 3 or something like that.
What?
The golden time.
It's gone. The last one is here.
Are those two different things? Or is it one and the same? Tangerines and clementine?
Different.
I'm not sure about that.
They are.
Sorry.
Yeah, isn't there like same? I thought it was.
They have even different name in both in Chinese and English.
So like clementine, mandarin, tangerine, what is it?
Mandarin, you know.
They came from different areas. They like different
Oh.
weather.
But it's the same species, right?
No, they are different subspecies. I mean the parent species is the same, but they are
Yeah,
different
that's what I mean.
But you're
like,
saying
It's
parrot
like
is the same. A tiger is same as lion.
no, cat. Cat comes from the tiger's
Yeah,
family.
that's congender.
I mean, it's
No.
the same as like you can
Lion.
have a
No,
red lady.
lion not so similar, but lion and for example, cheetah. No, cheetah. Wait,
You can compare with a cat, but not with
Leopard and cheetah.
yeah, leopard and cheetah.
yeah.
They're basically saying that they're same, but they're not same.
No, but then.
What is leopard?
It's they're I mean like leopard causes the most human attack in India.
Is the what?
Most human attack because
Really?
they go to villages to find food. So they usually sometimes they encounter human and when you behave like
Right.
weirdly, people will just attack you.
I didn't know they had leopards in
Oh my god, yeah.
I thought there was like in sub-Saharan, but of course South India is sub-Saharan as well.
No, they have like a lot of papers.
Yeah. I didn't know why, but I thought it was not.
But leopard actually came for pig, not for human. So seriously, they wanted the easiest meal for them is just to grab the piggy, the small pig, from the big pig.
Piglet.
Yeah. But that's actually their target when they go to villages.
Cheetahs.
But I think in India there's a lot of goats rather than pigs. There's a lot of goats rather than pigs.
Yeah, but I've seen like those
Depends on the variety.
documentation. I don't know why, but they always go for the small pig.
I'm amazed how everybody knows so much about India.
Did you say documentation?
Come on, we come from the same place, around the same place.
I cannot go back to normal life. I always say documentation when I meant documentary.
Oh my god, yeah, you're like, you would notice that, huh?
Yeah.
She even didn't go notice that.
No,
She was also and like here in documentary when I say
I
documentation.
am single threaded person, I was just listening to what the main purpose of the saying, like for example, the leopard eating the piglet. So I wasn't noticing that.
So the
Yes, you are
documentation for
down
India.
to like, you know. So what are we going to do now?
I think it's bug fixing and trying to get people's stuff to work. I think.
Nothing on your organ.
Next Sunday we'll present the project or not? Next Sunday should we present it?
I think you two groups are only valid for the presentation.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Unnecessarily.
You know what? What I'm gonna do? I'm gonna fork your project like completely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask to be the first one presenting.
That's incredible.
Man, I'm out. It's your call. I'm out to work.
We'll ask how you did stuff. How did you do that?
I'm gonna.
I don't want to take time to do stuff.
I will give it here to us.
Yeah.
No, I've got one question now. Like, I want to get the database from you. Now I have to download the whole report from you. Yeah, really?
I didn't.
Can't I just like
Draw the
download?
repo, take all the files. I mean, you
I
only
can
need
get,
that data.
can I download only the database?
Yeah.
You can download the database folder.
Yeah, like from the GitHub.
Can't do that. That's the only thing you really
Need, yeah, that's what I
to make the database. That's what I did. I only took your I took the migrate folder and I changed it a bit in one seed file or something, and that's it.
165.
Yeah. The role. What was it?
Mentor users, which is
Permissions.
mentors and
Permissions. The role permissions, like the 1, 2, 3. That's basically it.
Like everything, because she downloaded your whole
Repo?
repo in our project, and then there's like so many files and everything. I don't even I can't even navigate like the file that I have to be in or something like that.
I did exactly opposite. I didn't make enough files. I had like giant files of the same stuff. Oh
Yeah.
You got your database to work, right? So it wasn't my code last time.
No, it was like because of my SSL thingy, like
It's probably because when you downloaded that program, you didn't download.
the SSL. I don't know.
Yeah. So is it SSL? I thought it was
Yeah,
SSH.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
SSL something.
Yeah. Okay. So where is it? It's fine. Right. Okay. So you need to, if you want to use that, you need to navigate into that folder.
From GitHub?
No, from GitHub.
This is the database?
It just needs to be on the same level as the text file. If you want to run your migrate, right?
Yeah.
It's Knex migrate latest. But if you have a different database already installed, then I would remove that first.
So that means like if I like to get the database same that you guys are using, I need to delete this database and then download the other one.
You can run the SQL file for drop the tables. You can drop all of the tables. And then run the
I didn't see you made that file, so I manually just dropped everything. I didn't even the Knex files.
Yeah, there's this called like drop tables.sql.
Oh yeah, so it's an SQL. Yeah, so that just drops everything. So these all the tables basically.
Where do you live?
Here goes.
Very close here.
Yeah. Now what should I do? Like,
Suham.
should I delete everything or what?
If it's SQL, you probably need to be
Yeah,
an
it's
SQL. What's called client. You have SQL installed. Oh yeah, so you can run from that.
There's no implements.
Source and then path to that file. So if you go into the other terminal, it'll probably be easy. And pwd. Then copy that.
This one?
Yeah.
Actually, like if I drop this table, if I drop this table, and then
That file will delete like all that. What's it called? So if you copied that, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to use it, you can that one source and then paste. So like source, like the word, right? Or can you use SLC? Yeah. So yeah, that's how I do with these. And then you just need to dash drop tables, so that's good, like the name. Yeah.
this one drop table?
That is good. And remember the slash.
Slash or space.
Slash.
Slash?
Without the space. It's like an absolute path. You see, it's from your root folder.
It's getting like take this source and then drop the table.
You're basically telling it where this whole thing is the path to script, right? So you can from your root folder all the way down to script and then source. So that source tells it run this. And because it's an SQL file, it's just SQL commands, right? It runs each one. So if you press enter, it'll run it.
We
So-
did it.
0 rows affected.
0 rows.
0 rows, yeah, it's at 0 rows.
Try
it's not
show
deleted.
tables.
Usually
Deleted.
it takes sometimes. There's why it's very fast.
Try to just show tables.
Yeah, it's gone.
You just have
But why still?
But there's
why
still mentors.
You can
Oh
add it
no, this is like
because it's
add
coming
for
from
it.
the old
Yeah.
You can add the query.
The one from our previous.
Then I would drop that as well, just to be sure.
Yeah. So I just do like drop meters.
Drop table, right?
Table
You drop the table.
And then it's shows it. It doesn't show rows because it's not a row, it's a table.
Cool.
on one page.
Oh no.
Okay.
Because Kinect is not from Kinect is JavaScript, it's not SQL, so you can't run JavaScript from SQL, right?
Oh no, I was trying to see the table.
Ah, my bad, sorry.
I was like,
I thought you were running the
No.
Kinect file.
Let me, okay, let me run that. Now I will run like my table. No, but like I need to go to the GitHub and then download the data.
Oh yeah, the new one, yeah, probably for them. This I like because I use this. This you have all the control you want and need from terminal. With all
Yeah, I
the
was
devices.
I
Yeah, right.
Simple.
Exactly, you can do exactly what you want, you just need to type it. So
You don't get distracted.
what?
You are not distracted.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I had like a little talk with Christopher, and he'll come and join us, and we can talk a little bit about like graduation and like the situation right now. But like right now we're just like trying to figure out what we can do in order to get as much as possible done before. I mean, like usually what happens is we say code freeze and then nobody does it, and I kind of like expect the same thing here, right?
What?
With the code freeze. Code freeze.
What's that?
So that's supposed to be the last week that you're not making any new features. I don't think that's really realistic.
Just making
It
it
was it was freezed a week ago.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh yeah, so you did code freeze the previous week.
Code freeze. Okay,
That's not quite how it works. But you understand the concept? So about a week before you had to deliver something to a customer demo something, you stop making any new features and then you only focus on testing and fixing any
What
bugs
if you
that
do
are
that
fixing
while
the
you
system.
develop normally?
Huh?
What if you do that while you develop normally, like test everything?
Yeah, you definitely should. I mean, of course, if you have like, okay, that's a really good question because do you know about like continuous deployment?
Yeah.
So the point of continuous deployment is that you kind of like set up your workflow in a way. So basically, every time someone makes a new pull request and wants to merge something into the code, it goes to like automated testing that will make sure that you don't have any test that breaks, and it will try to deploy it on a server where your code is meeting all the other code, and then we do automated testing again. And if everything passes, generally what will happen is it will just like deploy it out to the real world. There's like different levels, but the extreme case of continuous deployment, it will just like deploy it out in the real world. The users will start using the new product right away. I think Jira does it, and Chrome, if you do like the Chrome nightly builds, you also get it, but if you do like the regular Chrome, you get it like a little bit delayed. But that's the point about continuous deployment, and obviously you kind of like really do code freeze with continuous deployment. But you're also kind of accepting, when you do continuous deployment, you're kind of accepting that there might be some errors that land on the user's table, but the other side of this is that you're able to resolve these things really quickly because it is continuous deployment. So if you get an error reported, then you'll send someone to work on it right away, and they make the pull request, and they might be able to turn it around and fix the bug within like a few hours.
Another example, like Node, right? The newest version of Node is continuous, but then the LTS is the latest.
Yeah,
state.
LTS, long-term support. Long-time support, yeah. So they keep the LTS versions. They keep them steady. They don't keep merging the changes.
And latest is continuous, if I'm not mistaken. They keep updating it. Like
Yeah,
a
I think, yeah, pretty sure. Yeah.
But I mean, I haven't seen any of you do like really elaborated testing flows. So I don't think it's very responsible to just say like, oh, we're just doing like continuous deployment. But on the other hand, if you're at a point right now where you're just like, okay, so this is just like not enough for us to demo next week, of course you should continue on developing during the coming week. But try to like assign like the last 2 days or 1 day or something like that to just focus on like testing everything, making sure everything works. Because if you're like developing new features the night before demoing, it's just prone to go wrong. It will.
Yeah.
I promise. So
I mean, then again, I mean, I'm not really gonna, you know, like.
You don't think you'll get that far?
Yeah, that's the thing.
But how do you so okay, so last time you were kind of like that, so you didn't want to build on top of their project because you wanted to have ownership, right?
Yeah. Afterwards, I tried. But
Okay, you tried that as well.
Yeah. I really couldn't manage to make the database work.
And what if you spend another week on that? You don't think you're
But
realistically.
couldn't you help him to just run your project in there?
The thing is that the mistake I'm getting, maybe Saki say something about, I mean,
Is it not? So low.
so yeah, I mean, again, I don't see the point. Of course, I would like to keep improving it, but thinking more like a long-term thing. At one point, I mean, I really liked the idea of the project. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Okay.
so?
So I don't want to, you know, sound like.
But how much time do you imagine you can set aside for the project? Probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically busy every day. Of course, I can put a little bit of extra effort, but then again, I mean, there are a lot of things that, if everything went perfectly, yeah, I mean, I could maybe have like something, but I know it's not gonna.
Because honestly, like based on what you showed me, you're not too far from what I've seen from Surya and Ibrahim. You need to get the view hooked up to the database, right?
Yes.
So get the data from the database. Obviously, it will take a few hours every day, sure. And of course, it also depends, like if you get stuck and things like that. But I think you could get to a point similar to that. And I think what they've done so far is definitely possible as a project you can show and be proud of. But of course, that's also something that's up to you.
Yeah.
Up to each of you. Of course, that's like. But that's just that's my point of view. But it would, of course, it would take quite a bit of work for you to get there at this current point. And then, of course, you could like take their project and fork it and like spend the week getting to work and then like make a tiny contribution. Then I can kind of see like how it would be like, yeah, this isn't already mine.
Yeah.
But
what I'm saying that already we.
But I mean, you participated in class, you contributed, you helped out with the authentication part. I've seen you write code that is up to the level that we're expecting from students that we're writing.
You have introduced this Google authentication because you initially introduced this what is it called this
GitHub, yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm just.
And that's what I mean. I've seen some form of contributions from all of you, which are on the level that I expect it to be. So I mean, like, I'm not concerned about the level, but I can definitely empathize with the situation, feeling like I don't want to demo this because it's shit. But that's just kind of how it is sometimes. And I've had a lot of demos where I had to demo something that was like absolute shit, and I couldn't take myself seriously.
Come on, Saki, but I've been in like at least 3 final project presentations, and at least there are a couple of routes that you can go and show. Maybe it was not that phrase, but
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be like.
But
comfortable.
I mean, at work we demo. Actually, we don't demo every week. We used to have 1 week sprints. Now we have 2 week sprints. But we demo. We have been demoing on a week-to-week basis, and it is not a lot of work that we get to show them, but we still demo it. So I mean, it doesn't have to be like a huge amount of work. Of course, I understand how it's like. It doesn't feel very nice to be like compared to someone who managed to get a lot further. But I mean, like, you all have like different circumstances, and that's fair. That's just the situation. But I mean, in the end of the day, of course, it's completely up to you. What do you want to present it? But let's take that discussion together with Christopher. Yeah, Christopher will join us for that. So,
I want to see what's going on.
Very heavy things going on.
Ready for some drama.
so what I'd like to, until we get this talk with Christopher, I just want to have you help out, like look for what can we do right now to get all of you going as far and as fast as possible with the time that we have left.
Probably it's gonna be like a different thing for each one.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. How about you guys? Do you have some ideas? Where would you focus to get the most work done on your project right now? What do you need the most?
Time.
Time. Okay. But the time with 1 week.
I work full time also. I'm writing 8 hours of code, then after work we need to write more code.
So we're 1 week and 10 minutes per day left. What will you do? you need to find the most important thing.
We had a plan. I mean, our worst plan. Worst backup plan is that we just write kind of optimize the form, the module, adding module form, and that will be our least.
What exactly does that mean?
Well,
Like
she has
optimize?
already no, because now it's not really like a page,
Okay.
so we can just like make that one work better and look better. That would be like our plan B. If we have to demo, we will say that this part is our stuff.
I'm thinking that so Joe has mostly completed the requirement for iteration 1.
Just a couple of hours and I think I'll be ready.
And Ibrahim and Sawyer are really close. But still need the entire, actually not that close to be honest, because you need creating modules and assigning mentors.
Yeah. I think we can do it.
So what I'm thinking is if you branch out from theirs now and do your take on that part, you will dive straight into some of the bits where it's like there's some flesh on that and you can actually make a real difference to that project. That's something to consider. I don't know how you feel about that.
We already have integrated the project now.
So you have all the new changes as well? Because
Not new.
No.
That's why I deleted the database and wanted to get the new database.
It's the kind of proposal, I don't know, it might be controversial, but is it possible just create a new React tab with just using some dummy data, like no save, no nothing?
That was our very initial plan, and
Okay.
then
How far are you to
no,
achieve?
and then the new requirement to just kill that one. So
Which requirement is that?
that we need to integrate authentication on the
Okay.
database and blah blah blah. I was thinking about like just using a JSON file as
But for Jackie, can you consider that for the time being, like a
it will actually be alright for me. If you can put together a UI, because we've seen your work
just
on
some clickable thing, search something, add something, just
We've seen you work on all the other things to an extent that I think you could probably sit down and figure it out if you need to do it in real. And you could build a prototype that's not database driven and show that if you want to.
Yeah, that's kind of alternative, but it's not.
It's also alright to do it the other way around and then just not build a UI and just do like the database and all the APIs and say.
Yeah, these are my APIs. Like call it through Postman or some other thing. Okay. Yeah. But the thing is that we need to wrap everything up. Yeah, that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, have you decided what to do?
No,
Or
no.
will it take more time to finalize your?
I mean, that's something you have to decide. These are suggestions.
Yeah.
But for now, I mean, like in terms of like timing and getting more time and stuff like that, the main thing is that after next week there will be another class starting, so there's not the space here available. I'm going to be on holiday, and yeah, so I mean, like plan for that graduation next week, and then just let's see what Christopher has to say about it.
So like I think like if if we can't ignore the presentation and then we have to deliver something, then like we would like to work with this what we did, like with create module and then queries to the database, and maybe that's the least thing that we can do, and then talk about what's our experiences, and then maybe and maybe it won't be like a very big inspiration or motivational like whatever the thing is.
But it's absolutely alright that the demo is like a very brief demo of the actual product, because that's okay. We tried to get a lot of things to work. We only managed to do this, and then you can evaluate your process and you can explain some of the things that you learned about that. That's absolutely fine from my point of view. So what we were addressing was that some of you don't feel comfortable sharing what you have because you feel it's not enough. But I hope you can manage to find a way to get to a point where you're comfortable showing these things. And my point is, our requirements are not that high in terms of like what we expect to see, because we have like determined that you have the level that you need. So the people who have high requirements are people who might be looking at your GitHub profiles, and that's something that we can sort out later as well.
I mean, at least the way I think that I really don't like the fact that I would be, I would have to present something that is so incomplete, first of all. But it's also the fact that the scope of the project itself was, kind of ambitious, and it was designed for be done by a group, certainly.
Yeah.
So I kind of have this feeling that even though, of course, we are learning and I did a lot of mistakes, I kind of did, what I could. I did my part, but at the end, I don't have something that I'm comfortable showing. And I don't really like that.
And that's completely fair, and a lot of it is not, like, most of it is not on you to blame. But
the whole process was a little bit shaky. Honestly
Yeah,
speaking.
of course,
but right now it's mostly about like being pragmatic, figuring out a way to
I put
to get as much as we can, as good as we can for next Sunday.
Do you have any plan for next Sunday?
No. If I have to be honest, by now, if I had to say something, I would be like, I can come, to watch you guys, to go for the snacks, but I'm not gonna do the presentation. Sorry, I mean, I'm hearing myself when I'm saying it, but the truth is, guys,
like your team members are also like vanished.
Yeah.
You were the only one like
Sure.
pushing yourself, and I think it's valid like at this point. Like
We also lost one comrade on first day, on day one.
so like yeah,
I mean, Joe still is the one kind of managed to.
he like yeah.
He's Joe, okay? He's Joe.
See, I so maybe you can do it.
In 1 week you can.
You just can make a little bit you are better than them.
He doesn't like material UI.
You use good
But
stuff.
that's, I mean, that could, I don't know, that could maybe be another suggestion. I don't know if that's,
Yeah, I
that would be good, but I mean, like, you are really close to having the first situation done, right? So what we could say is that you put that on a branch now. Code free, you put that on a branch.
Could I finish it first?
Don't spend too much time finishing it, but let's just imagine that you finished the last one, small thing. Put that on a branch, code freeze it, and then maybe the two of you could start working together in iteration 2. Would that be interesting for you to do?
There is some like some not minor stuff that still needs to be done. If that's it, like something we actually need to get into the code.
I mean, I want to say yes, that could work, and I actually try to be optimistic right now. But the truth is that also in the week, at least I'm very busy.
Yeah.
You know, like
I don't think you can find enough time that you could make a significant impact on it.
I mean, it could happen, but you know, we're very close to the deadline. I don't want to say a thing afterwards to find out. You know, it's very hard. Like if you're joining a new project, it's not like something to do in the very last week. I really want to, you know, be optimistic, but I don't see the point of saying yes, I can do this, and on Thursday, like coming out with. I'm so sorry, you know, I hear myself and such a pessimistic, you know, thing.
Yeah.
So,
It's like,
but it's what I'm feeling. I mean,
come on, she saved me. She saved me.
She always makes sweet. Stop that.
it's completely fair, and I understand very well.
So is it something that Marco is going to attend this next final project again, or I don't know?
I guess we'll have to discuss that.
yeah, we
Okay.
There, I mean, it is already kind of code frozen because I made a pull request to the main fork. That is this current version. Sure.
Yeah. But okay, so as I understand it right now, your plan is not really to happen. And that's.
I mean, if
But
probably what I'm gonna do anyways, it's since actually after we're done here, I'm gonna have also some amount of vacation. I would like to keep working on the project on myself. I don't actually, I mean, even if it's not gonna go anywhere, because then again, I think I already learned a lot about the organization in the back end. That was something that I was really missing, and I think I can have something, you know, that could be sort of working, but it's gonna take time for sure. That would be like my plan, even if it's not a real plan.
Okay. Yeah. It would be nice to get that settled right now. I just couldn't see Chris the first time.
I have a question about context.
So,
Do we usually
Can I cry now?
do we
That is
usually
we're gonna try to get it. Come on.
that we need multiple pages from the database at the same component amount of context? Because maybe I'm opening the first page which didn't contain users, so I don't see them here.
Nothing.
Should I teach them
You just confirm my
component
question.
amount of
That
context?
was my question.
Well,
Like,
What actually happened?
usually what is practicing like
But I'm just bringing it up. Like
you know, designing component is the most challenging part. Like,
motivation was like
think like a simple part. How much will you create this component? Like, is it something that particular part, or like on that particular part on the top of that, or something more? So if your component is well established, so the basic idea, no need to face it extra information that don't even use. So that is the very best principle. Like if your UI is only using your email and your name, no need to face other data. Keep in check. So that is the main principle. You understand what I mean? Yeah. Like
fix the data when I need
more or
it.
less the same.
Yeah, that's the
after
principle.
JavaScript.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't need to use it. I'm fixing it.
Obviously.
it's still
And after a while, the it becomes very long. Should we?
Okay.
And
So I managed to find both Christopher and Daniel.
then you can say that you need some kind of statement actually. Who is keeping track of all the things instead of building
I think it's from the
huge context.
Some longer and
Yeah.
longer.
So that's why that step comes. Like how we can handle all the heuristics and everything, either this case or that case. So.
Okay, so just to quickly summarize the situation. So Ibrahim and Shuayyad are pretty close to the first situation, and Joe is almost there, even closer. And Marco at the moment is very frustrated. So you have like authentication working, but you haven't really managed to get it to work with the backend side of things. So it's not, your application is not database driven and has very few features.
Yes.
And I'm sort of like trying to persuade you to demo something anyway, and you're kind of too proud to do it. And I definitely understand that, because I mean, like, you will of course be, by everyone else there, you will somewhat be compared to the other guys who did like a lot more and have a lot more running. And Nir and Zoe has tried to branch out from your project and has had a lot of struggle with it and hasn't made a lot of progress in the last week as well. So you're sort of in the same situation right now.
But they have some plan for
There was a
backup plan.
that's very least backup plan. Like if we have to do it,
Yeah. So what we discussed with them was maybe that we could say, okay, so we've seen you do some work on the backend side of things. You can spend the last week just doing a front-end prototype that's not data-driven. So that could be an option in that aspect. But yeah, but you're not too happy about that either, right?
But I think we're going into the details again before we like approach the bigger picture. And so like, I was thinking maybe we talk briefly about like the graduation. What is it? 2 weeks? No, next week. Okay. Because I mean, like the reason why I set the deadline was mainly because we started the new class on February 3rd. So like we're physically again gonna run out of space here, and like it's just nice to finish with one class and then focus on the new one. So because we've noticed before that 4 at the same time is like a lot, because there's all these different things you need to do. But like the way that we approach this project, I mean, obviously it's become a bit messy, and like not everyone's happy with like what they really achieved, and like I understand that some people aren't confident in presenting something that they've done so far, and I think I mean that's fine. But I think we also, for this project, from our side, had a different expectation for what that needs to be, because this project was a lot more loose. Like we didn't have an external partner that said like we need to have this and this and this built. It was more like, hey, there is this thing that we could use for Happy Future, and we also need to like figure out together how to best do it. Like we have like a vague idea of how it works, but there wasn't like a user story, a specific one. So it's like you had to do a lot of that work yourself. So you know, in retrospect, it's quite easy to see that this project was a lot more about also ideation, writing the stories, super long research spikes. And then you have the Christmas holidays, and then all of a sudden things don't end up as much, where we can't build a full app in the time that we have. So I think we should also emphasize that when we do a graduation or like a ceremony and we're going to present about it, we're also going to be honest about that and say like, hey, this project was quite heavily about like researching, because you are also like a different group from what we're used to in the other project groups that we've had, because all of you are more advanced than the students before. Like it tended to be more that we had a group where it was beneficial to have very specific guidelines and rules where we can just like step by step follow it. But then I think all of you are quite good at working individually as well, and like a lot of you already have jobs or internships and are sitting somewhere already working on real life projects elsewhere. So it's not as important in this group as it is for the other ones to have this one project here. Because like with class 4, for instance, there was no person who had any personal project. So they all needed a good project that they could put on their portfolio so that they can apply for jobs afterwards. And here it's like, yeah, most people have project anyways. So I don't know, maybe it helped you as well to see like a quite messy process of kind of.
I mean, like the other option. Yeah, so the other option was that Daniel and I and Benjamin and maybe some other mentors were sitting together and doing all the iteration before the project, and we sort of tried to do that, but just didn't get that far because we also have like limited time to put into these things. So we ended up in a situation where we thought we had done like a big chunk of the ideation, and then we realized we had not done such a big chunk as we wanted to. And that meant that we were doing a lot of that in class. But that's actually like, I would take a positive spin on that and say that's like really positive for you to see, because it is a really messy process. It's normal that it's really messy. It can of course be improved in a lot of different ways. But you've been part of that process now. And that might actually be more important than coding exercises, because I mean, like, you've done JavaScript 1 to 3, you did React, you did Node.js, you did all the coding exercises. You do have the coding in your fingers, but you also need to learn a lot about like the product part, like what it's like to build a product, what it's like to cooperate together on like coordinating the work and all those kind of things. And we had like a lot more experience in that aspect than we had in any of the previous projects like this.
Exactly. So I think it's good to agree on that, but then I think very practically, then looking at next week, I mean, is anyone like super uncomfortable with presenting at all? You would prefer not to. But then, what about if we just say for our side, like we present it to everyone else as like, hey, this was very like heavily focused on researching and ideation and so on. Like all of you work, like, or a lot of you work anyways, and you do a lot in internships and so on. And then we just present 1 or 2 projects, and then
as long as
keep it a bit shorter than usual. I think, I mean, it's not like the other students would mind that so much. It's like what we do this whole final project for is like for experience. It could be valuable for you. Like, I hope that you got some of that out of it anyway.
Of course.
And can you get a diploma if you don't present them?
I mean, everyone in here can have a diploma because you obviously know like how to do the stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like there's not really a question about it. I mean, there have been project groups before where like it wasn't possible to give certain people or like to graduate certain people because we weren't sure that we can really recommend them for a job, and knowing that they know all the things that we say that people can do. But here, I think everyone knows everything.
Christopher, can I ask you one question? Like initially, when I was here, what I've seen that we're struggling with fixing our features. Like the wireframes were not. We come up with this iteration 1 little bit late. Like the whole plan was a little bit late. That was the initial problem, and then we started building all the things, and somehow those 2 groups are somehow achieved that, and we were struggling with some other issues, but we were good at building UIs and everything. But in your case, what is your plan actually? Like, for example, just if I give you, for example, 5 more ways,
or 2 more weeks? Like, how are you gonna conclude your part? Like, what is your plan?
I would try to make a proper backend.
Yeah.
Have the API roots.
Yeah.
And afterwards, try to connect it as well. I'm not super comfortable neither with the calendar component.
Okay.
I would probably try to look for an alternative solution, just like Joe did it.
I understand. But the thing is that you have already tried and you would like to try more. That's fair enough. But what happens if you fail again? Like, for example, you pass it for 2 weeks. That way, hey, I will invest 2 more weeks to wrap everything up, but you fail again. Then what will happen?
I would kill myself, of course.
Okay.
No.
Okay, I understand.
But you have a good approach. I can see that in your speech, you have an approach to the problem, and that's very important. That maybe because you're in a context where other people have succeeded and talked about it, that you can actually understand what is lacking and how we would approach. And that's very positive, because that's the first part to solve the problem, right? You have to understand how to approach it.
I mean, absolutely. The reason precisely why I wouldn't be comfortable doing a presentation is because in the base case scenario, I will be using half of a project that is not mine, and that's only in the best case scenario.
What do you do when you copy paste on the internet? Or you think anybody in this room develops lines?
Well, using components, multiple components.
Yeah, just that. That's
One thing is to
Where did you copy the code from?
I can understand. I understand.
And
And I say to all the students here, we would like to have an iteration 1 a little bit more detailed to make your work a little bit more, because we can see that was one of the things that's like on our side. But we also did a lot of research and a lot of the wireframe building, and you should see that
As a story.
And you should see that as a really good achievement and good experience. I understand that we sell the final project as achieving and as demoing, and that's a big accomplishment and ceremony, and turn the thing on the head. But let's go back and see what happened, and see what we together could make happen.
Yeah, I mean, probably the main issue is that there's really a big difference between how much effort we put on this and the things that we achieve with the things that we actually can show. Because I can't do an exposition saying about the research with authentication and all the struggles. I mean,
That's
Actually,
okay.
That's fair.
I mean, actually, you could. I mean, you could go out there and you could demo authentication on its own, and you could explain a little bit about how that works, and then you could demo some other part of the project on its own. That would also be fine.
That could actually be quite interesting, because also the thing about like authentication in this project was like, that was maybe like grabbing a bit too far ahead. That was maybe the ambitious part of this project that made it harder.
But I think that's actually it's actually the part that's
super interesting.
that went really well in terms of like
But it took a long time.
Well, I mean, we did it at a moment where we didn't know what the project was supposed to be. So it took a lot of time because it was allowed to take a lot of time, I think. Then, of course, like getting from the GitHub authentication to the Google authentication took a little bit of time, and I think that maybe took a bit of time out of like some other activities. But otherwise, I think that part was actually quite successful. That's my opinion.
But I think it's also interesting to hear about. I mean, if anyone's happy to present anything, then we can do that. But like, it doesn't have to be that everyone presents something or like.
And also I can see that you have a very specific, I definitely would like to call it achievement, that you're focusing on using this material UI and this stylized component or whatever. So I can eager to call it as an achievement as well.
Yeah, I mean,
But okay, so if Marco decides not to present next Sunday, So can he sit around and have snacks and stuff like that, and then when we finish up, he go up and get his diploma? How does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think like that's what I was saying. Like this project has been a bit difficult, and I think we preface this as that.
Yeah.
Like I mean, unless like the mentors in the end disagree, like okay, no, Marco doesn't deserve the certificate. You know, like, he will not get it.
Because
He will walk up, but then when we hold it up to him, we'll actually take him away.
you have to do the handshake. Not without the handshake. No, because my thinking was that maybe we could frame it in the way that we say like, if you need like say 2 more weeks or something like that, we cannot facilitate classes because we don't have space for it. But we could support you on Slack. And you could like, I don't know, like probably won't do like a big invitation to a big demo with 100 people, but we could maybe meet here after class, you and a couple of mentors, and you could show what you've been doing. That's what I was thinking about these things, but I don't know what do you think about that?
I don't fully get it. Like, is it?
So I'm thinking rather than giving him the diploma for not demoing, then he could continue working on the product for let's say 2 or 3 weeks. We make a new deadline.
Yeah.
And
Just Marco, for everyone.
Just Marco, or maybe this group if they want to do the same.
Well, it's up to the group actually.
I mean, I would like to avoid anything that's like extra organizing and extra events. So like, like we said on the 27th now, we're not doing this graduation or like certificate for the other people or for us. It's like, you know, like you want to have a search sheet of paper in hand that kind of tells you, okay, now like I'm done, like I've reached the level that Hacker Future expects me to be at, and like now we recommend you because that's why you have the certificate. Yeah, and of course it's nice if you also have a project, but that's up to you if you want to finish it. And of course we're here to support you if you want to like continue working on the project and finish something.
Yeah, because
you don't have to demo it.
No, it's sort of the same in the sense that if you go to the ceremony and get the diploma, I still kind of like expect you to try to wrap up the project, or if not that, then try to contribute to taking the project that got the furthest, try to help packaging that in a way so we can hand it over to a new project and they can continue working on it.
I mean, on an ideal scenario, if the plan is still to kind of continue this project with the next class, if I mean, I'm probably still gonna keep working on it. I don't know about, you know, like the deadlines, because I can't really be sure about that. If you tell me like 3 weeks, I don't know how much can I achieve, but I mean, I'm probably still gonna do it one way or another, like keep working on top of it, because I actually like the project and I think it's really useful in several aspects.
It is actually useful for us, and then and I was also thinking, because Sue here is like helping out with the Hacker Future website right now. It could be really nice if we could integrate it into the coming website, and then maybe like continue to make it better as well. And then of course it's also helpful to have a bit of a readme to like explain to the next group how to build on top of it.
But in terms of like handing it over to a common group, it's probably not a matter of like wrapping up 4 different projects and handing them over. It's probably a matter of like trying to figure out which one is most worthy of that. So that's another point, is that so if you work a few more weeks, it shouldn't be on your own projects.
But if you want to demo something because you would like to be part of that, no, I don't mean for the ceremony. If like what Zaki was saying, if I'm open to your idea as well, to make part of a small get together, even though that we do it off-site.
I don't really care about
so
that. I mean,
if you're up for that, I'm open to that, and we meet and we handle that.
well,
Not to put like unparalleled with the ceremony, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we can't see about that. I mean, I don't want to put extra, you know, organization to Hacker Future.
But I wouldn't put that as a requirement to graduate, because I see you as I see your proven effort and your development. Even though that you don't have a project to demo, it's I've seen other students that had things to demo and they didn't
Well,
actually work as much.
but
as
first of all, he has something to demo, but he don't consider himself
Yeah.
as
Yes.
that up to the mark.
No,
actually.
then again,
But he can present the Google authentication part. He can present that how he used this material UI with the things, and also he can present that what he's struggling with connecting database things and this and that. So from my point of view, I have expression that you did a lot and you have lots of things to present. But the issue here, how are you going to present? If you feel that, okay, those are the things really silly, I don't want to present, then that's a different issue. But if you would like to present something, you have something to present, actually, I can see. You have something in your plate. So,
like I already said before, the thing is that what I have, what I can really show is, it doesn't really show what, like, the effort I put, and it was a team thing at the end.
Yeah.
And
I think we're talking too much in detail.
how about your project? Are you willing to present?
We decided to.
So you are fine with presenting something?
2 minutes left.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
perfect.
it
Just
won't
go.
be like too.
do you know 2 minutes is 16 to 60?
I
60
speak
plus
in
60.
this speed. So it's going to be
Like we have done less
2
than
minutes.
Marco has done, what Marco has done.
Heroku's gonna spend 35
If
seconds
you feel
loading.
comfortable,
So then-
So you're just more comfortable being posers.
Yeah, but like if it's not like anybody shaming us up, like
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So there is no point of sharing.
oh, I'm gonna make so many questions.
No, okay. Thank you for your participation. We are done.
Thank you for a good question.
Okay, and you guys will present as well. Joe, how about Zishan? Have you heard about anything?
No. No, Zishan wants to stop.
Wanted to stop. Yeah.
Wow, he didn't even try to sneak in to not represent.
And he'll be bummed.
Okay, so we have 3 presentations.
Yeah.
And if you change your mind, Marco, you're welcome.
I
Oh,
think
you
you
can
should.
join us 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think you should do it just because your experiences of the past for looking at it, I guess. Like if like when Christopher.
Yeah, we talked about it last time actually. But
This project, then I think it's a good idea
We
to
could
like
just
open
dump
up
that,
and then maybe they get.
so did we make like a
What can I say?
I will put it on the.
Yeah, but it's fine. Like it's fine. It's fine. Okay, don't join the drama. Just let him be.
But Marco,
let's share that.
Hmm?
Let's share
I mean, that's
I just explained that I'm really going to present the project overall.
But you didn't give me the
And
second
what we
one,
expect from
that's
the
what
less.
I mean, you know, like.
if it's like think about it as like a 90 seconds presentation. Like this is what authentication is. This is what it meant for this project. This is how I approached solving it. Done.
No. The first 45 seconds. Hi everyone. My name is Marco. I'm from Argentina. I've been joining Confucius since blah 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 blah. And my favorite food is. And then 45 seconds left.
Yeah, I mean, probably I know I could make a presentation just good enough, but it wouldn't. I mean, it was not what I was expecting. That I would be fair with myself.
So it's just you would expect more of yourself. That's why I don't want to do it.
The project in general, I think.
You had an expectation of the project to achieve an app itself. You didn't develop on that, and then now you see that you haven't gotten an MVP, and you don't want to present your.
If you want to put it that way.
Or we could reserve your spot at the next Sunday stand-up. Like an undefined Sunday, you will come with a projector and you will present the rest of it.
Good work.
That would be a massive task actually, On Sunday, on the next presentation, probably you're going to present, yeah. But anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
But does it make a bit more sense to everyone now? Like, have we resolved what we were wondering about? Like, what have we been talking about?
Yeah.
So, the whole time.
Well, we've been wrapping up the what what were the goals and how it ended up, and what we take home from this project. We don't take home a full developed app, at least not for everybody, and even the ones that have succeeded, there's not the big wireframe is not reflected in your work, but we defined that together. We did the work stories together, and that's what we had to take home, that experience. And yeah.
Anyone here now who already knows that they're interested in taking this project further, helping out with that?
What?
Anyone who knows already that they're interested in taking this project further and can maybe set some time aside for it?
I'll be working on mine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna put some time, even though it's just something I'm doing for myself.
Cool.
Probably the iteration too that we made with the workframe that we made for iteration 2.
Yeah, that would be where to go. But I'm talking like after the graduation, because we probably need some help figuring out like consolidating it and figuring out how to, because we want to do it for a oncoming final project, not the next one. I hope we can do it with the one after. That would be Class 8. And it would be really nice if we then could have like all the scoping sorted out and kind of have like some sort of just like drop-in repository that they can get started with, and then they can continue building on the oncoming requirements.
We have that actually, at least.
Yeah, but I mean, we pretty much have that now.
Yeah, we probably what we can, we might come up with some README where the new developer who would like to fork this, they can instantly follow the README and then start the project.
And now I'm thinking, so you are going to make a front-end demo, or what's the plan now?
We are going to demo the page that we made.
Long time ago.
I'm just gonna check on Osman.
No, we just she actually shows. She showed the form. We just made the we're just going to make the form.
So we're gonna change his repo, like, because I have exactly what he has. And I have to change my database, like I just deleted and I downloaded it so that I can make some, I can make a form in content and then create the module, like
straight module form.
Yeah, and then show it in the UI. So that's what the least thing that we can do.
Okay, because there was just my thinking here was just right now I'm not sure if we're going to, like when we consolidate, we want to put everything together in one repo, and I don't know if it's going to be your repo or your repo that would be the base for that, but we'll probably find a way to bring it together. And then maybe if you could focus your last effort on coordinating, so you maybe focus a little bit on something that's not in there already, so we have a chance of using that. It's optional. I mean, build something that makes sense for you to build for the demo, but if you can maybe coordinate together in a way, so maybe you refine something that they have not already refined. Make sense?
You understand what Jackie is mentioning, or? But keep everything. If you are in start, just keep developing your part. That's the rule of thumb, actually. You know?
If it's a hindrance for you, if it's slowing you down, don't worry about it. Just do whatever you want to present. But if you see this is actually something, we're building this and it could maybe fit in with something, try to coordinate and see if you can avoid repeating too much work.
Or you can do the opposite. Start your part and set some goal that I need to finish this UI and that UI and creating this component, that component. And if you've done, like for example, if you plan for 5 hours or 10 hours, that I need to finish this thing by 10 hours, if I'm able to achieve it, then I will dive into that part. Probably that might be another option.
Yeah.
Like do your thing first, and if you have time, then grab something from others. That might be an option.
Just something to keep in the back of your head when you're doing it. So, cool. think we have a plan.
I'm thinking about maybe we could give some other students some parts to develop during this week and integrate them with my project. For example, when I was working with Ibrahim, I give him, for example, the table of classes. Ibrahim is working on the functionality of project individually. Then when he finished, I integrate it with the project. So maybe I can give them some.
Yeah, I just have the impression that they, I don't know. So Soria is also suggesting to just like give out tasks for the three of you that can be integrated into his repo. But I had the feeling that you prefer to have more ownership. But this
already don't have any ownership. I don't know.
This is another option. I don't know. Yeah. So, and I mean, at this point in time, it would be nice to have like more efforts be put into one product that we feel we can pass on, that can live on. And I think all of you would of course prefer to see your work live on in some form in a future product. So, of course, it will probably be rewritten a million times before you see it in the wild, but that's how it is. So that's another thing to think about. So grab hold of Zoe here if you want to do that. Okay.
Think about it.
If I can be useful in any way, of course. Before doing anything, I'd rather do something.
And that's also a good opportunity because if you're interested in making some contribution to the project after the graduation, it makes a lot of sense to get a little more involved with.
Making core functionality is easy, but takes a long time for all the tables. So I was doing that. He was doing a part, and I was doing the other part. When he finished, I integrated them together.
Well, first of all, I don't even understand that your.
For example, he was making the form of modules.
I understand.
I deleted it. Then after he finished, I copied what he did.
No. That's not.
He was making a branch, and I measured it.
Yeah, that's the proper way.
And he was doing them some components without material UI components, so I was replacing the bottom with material.
So there were some final wiring
We take command wires,
restyle them,
split it
and
also divided to two pieces.
Yeah, that I understand.
I make it easy.
No, that I understand. But what I don't understand that the development that you did, he changed after merge. That's not the way we handle
I know,
it.
but because he was not so familiar with material UI, he was doing
but the more right way to do it is that he creates the changes, then he pushes his branch.
The back end part.
But the way it should work is that Ibrahim makes his changes, he pushes his changes to a branch and makes a pull request. And then you go into the pull request and then you, but what should happen is that you go into the pull request and then you tell him what to change in order to be drop-in ready to the project, right? I know it could be a lot of work and it could be a lot, but that's actually how you get the knowledge out of your head into his head in terms of like how the entire project works.
Now, it's like I make the core and you make the color.
And I know, and it very often ends up working that way. But the other way that you try to empower him is much more sustainable.
He is responsible for whatever his assignment.
But I mean, we also talked earlier about like maybe you sit with something and you get stuck. And you just need to leave it, right? That was what we talked about earlier. So if you sit with something and you get stuck, then in this case, push it, make a pull request, give a message saying, I'm not finished, this is work in progress, I'm stuck, can you have a look at it? And then you can pull down the branch and you can have a look and you can make some changes. And maybe you're like, yeah, so I think I figure out the part that you were stuck with. Do you want to have a look at it again? And then maybe you can finish that up. Or maybe you'll just end up merging it.
We make the same situation, but sorry, not reborn. I write it on the paper and we each other on the phone
Yeah,
or
yeah.
We work
Yeah,
many
also
hours
work.
using TeamViewer online.
you look
Okay,
into my
yeah, nice.
computer or I look to
Yeah.
and we do it the same way but not in
Yeah. But I'm just saying how it should be ideally. But I know many instances where it wasn't like that at my work.
we also ask about the best situation, right? Even if it's working with other people or others.
It was the first experience for me to work with a team.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Nice.
was working individually.
Yeah, that's the main difference actually. Working as a team and working individual is completely different.
I know.
Yeah.
And it happened before. We both working on the same file.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you
And then you're gonna merge conflicts and stuff, right?
Yeah. Not it's conflict, but in the local code, it's a part of income code, or in the opposite way.
Yeah.
It's
It's-
conflicts or
Yeah, I understand. As I told you before, that this responsibility highly depends on the person who is merging your code. You understand what I mean?
Oh.
Like for example, Joy is the responsible to merge your code. So he is responsible to make that branch stable. So sometimes it might require that he need to do some modification while merging that and then merge. So that's very common. That merge conflict is not something a sin. It is the common scenario that you will encounter almost every day, every minute. Not very frequent, but it is common. That there is some merge conflict.
this code
Sometimes
is
we're
responsible to
working
fix this
together
code
with
with
context.
the other branch that manage it.
Sorry.
But are you using context API in your
The
project?
one who is manage the code, he will be responsible to fix this code or
Well, there
with the
should
other-
be there should be one who's managing the code. There should be many who's managing the code. So it's the person. I mean, if you have a conflict, that's the point of time where then you need to talk together. This actually really highlights how important it is to have like social skills when you're a coder, right? Because you need to talk with your teammates and you need to figure out, okay, so why did you do that? Because now I did it in a different way and now it's conflicting. And then you need to resolve, okay, so which one is better? Is there some duplicate logic here, or is there something we can remove, or yeah. Also something that we used to do at work at one point. Actually, we stopped doing it because the guy who was like mostly pushing for it stopped. But it was really good. What he did was that he would usually, when he did a review, if I do a pull request and he does a review on that pull request, rather than just sitting on GitHub and typing out everything, he would put his comments on the lines that he wanted to change. And then he would, right after he pressed send, he would come over to me and talk me through it. And just like having that, like there's some non-verbal communication going on, like not only just like reading each other's comments and trying to figure out what they need, but just having there right there physically also means that you're more likely to ask questions about things that you're like, okay, so maybe this is a stupid question, I'll just like do whatever he tells me to, or something like that. But if he stands right there, it's really easy to ask that question. So it's just like to highlight like how, again, it's just like the more you talk about the code, the better, because you really need to have everyone understand. You cannot have everyone understand every single line, but have everyone understand as much as possible.
We have something to
Yeah.
announce. We have a baby.
Is there a baby on this way? Or?
What baby? No, we don't have like we only have this app baby. So
Yeah.
that's not.
Okay.
Yeah, just like because we take into consideration of what you proposed before, and we thought of like those is a little bit incomplete, so maybe we can join this, like do something more. More. Oh, okay. I don't know. Like I think more incomplete.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we can do some like maybe UI stuff.
Definitely.
Or just whatever that you figure you need
Maybe.
later.
I definitely need some work on the front end.
Yeah.
Like
Can we use Wild.js?
You can use whatever you want.
And I mean, like the UI part is very decoupled. So if you continue making new features,
It looks exactly like wireframe.
Okay.
It's exactly the wireframe.
Can you, if I don't know whether Jackie agree with me, but if you're gonna work together, if possible, just create your API documentation so that they can.
I was just about to say,
Yeah.
if you want to branch off mine, I can, I'll make a branch to work on like my own branch and keep the master as is right now. I'll just add one more commit, like documenting everything. I'll add, by the end of today, I'll put like a lot of JS doc in, like comment inside, so maybe it'll be a little bit more clear what I'm trying to do. And I'll create, I'll explain a lot more in the README what first setup, right? So and then you can branch off if you want and do whatever you want with it. Like the front end is really, I kept everything like intentionally open so you can work off of it if you want to.
Open.
Yeah, it is open.
that sounds like an awesome solution. That would be really good.
So like, would it be fine? Like, so I think it's,
I'm cool with it.
That's great. Fantastic.
But then if they're gonna help you on developing UI, what is your plan? Are you planning to do something more, or you just stop?
Just quick question. Do you want like keep going on mine or make your own of it?
No, we will just work on yours.
Work on mine. Okay.
So it's a kind of teamwork. Then.
Well, teamwork.
Yeah.
I mean, I was planning on keep going with the functionality, like make it actually the minimum viable product, like with this displaying modules, like just finishing up the things that need to be done right. And if there was more time, I was planning on adding some of the nice to haves. But if you want to, the nice to haves is really not important, right? So
I
it was
don't
just
know,
to
like
fill
how
out time.
nice we can make, but at least we can try to
Right.
put some of the things. That's
Right.
all. Like,
It's-
if it matters.
It's really up to you and what you want, to
So
be
then-
honest.
Yeah.
I have time and I'm open to everything. So it's what you want.
Cool.
So yeah, so it will be then 2 group presentation.
No, 3.
No, we
Three.
will still present differently.
Okay, so you
Our
make-
own
okay.
group.
So you want him to present the shitty looking version? No offense.
So we're gonna do the front-end thing. And the rest of them with the back
I'm
end.
gonna show the Photoshop before.
That's up to you to figure out.
I don't know, like, I don't know. Okay.
So we're gonna talk about some fail stories.
Really, you can decide whatever you want, to be honest. I probably won't go further in front end than like how it looks.
The thing is that actually there are lots to do. That's why to say that it's open. Because there are so many things that you can develop.
But we can't do so many things. We
Yeah.
can do only some of the things.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah,
So that's why it's your choice. Just pick those easiest part.
Yeah, just such as like making drum drums.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I'll do like definitely is the last thing, like displaying like individual modules on the correct dates, right? That's the only thing I'll finish up in the admin view. The rest is whatever. Could add the nice to haves and some front end or like focus on the front end.
Yeah.
Have you used this weird thing now?
Always think about using it.
Okay.
That's
Like
exactly
they are planning to
what-
use this word elements.
Oh, I'm planning on that.
Then you guys are useless. You have to say you guys are useless.
Okay.
You just write to me what you want.
We just not download. Like I hope it works in my computer. That's all the problem, I guess.
It should.
Come on, don't tell
I
us.
can help you get it up and running in like last 10 minutes if you want. My remote.
Probably a good idea.
or maybe you can use a fresh machine like the Jack's machine, or my machine as well. Okay, I'm going to give you that part so that they know everything from scratch.
I have like this. I can. I'll reformat this and make
Okay.
a fresh machine.
Okay, that's all.
I have my desktop that I developed actually used.
Okay, that's good. But do you want to see how we're gonna work?
Oh, no. Well, I can do that.
Or I don't know.
But like, I just like forked the repo from HackerCube to CBS, right? Class06
Yeah.
project.
Yeah.
But she has been contributing, right?
The version I have right now is the one that's on GitHub, like the HackerCube one.
Yeah.
I haven't done any other commits to the one. Last one.
Like this is the fifth time that I'm downloading the repos from everybody.
It's basically the same.
But I think we can kind of conclude the session now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for today.
Yeah. Thank you.
You want help to make it work?